or thinking about suicide, you're not alone. And there's hope. VA's Veterans Crisis Line has responders who listen and help. Many are veterans or have veteran family members and friends, so they're prepared to address your challenges. Don't wait. Dial 988, then press 1.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester.
Up US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
GOAT, G-O-A-T, acronym, stands for Greatest of All Time, as in spaghetti sandwiches for dinner. They're my fave. Dad, you're the GOAT.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
Crossover. It just crossed him over. Danced to another victim to the crossover. Cross him up and sit him down.
Time for the crossover. The first of 2024. Powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha. Everlevelconcrete.com. Josh, Nick, and John. Happy retirement to John Bishop.
Oh, congrats, John, on retiring.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome? I'm glad I was able to just time it out right at the beginning of the new year. It's perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. I just dropped in there as like, oh, here's the notes app thing with John and he's
that wasn't the notes app. That was just a Word doc.
The Word doc.
John scared the crap out of me because I start reading this and it's like 30 years of memories or whatever it says, and I'm like, okay, he would have told me. Then I was like, I don't know. Maybe he wouldn't have told me. And so, there was a part of me that for a second I was like,
he's not coming back.
He's not coming back. He's just he's going to tell me on Twitter.
Here's the funny thing. I actually thought about this as I was writing it, and then as I was crafting the tweet. And the original crafting of the tweet was going to say something in parentheses, I'm not quitting, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But then I thought, I thought it was obvious enough. So I'd actually thought of it because I don't remember. Well, no, it was New Year's. It was our last show last year. Josh did something after the show on Twitter that.
Oh, yeah. You retired too?
That just said, it just mentioned, hey, it was a great year, blah, blah, blah. I love working with the guys. And people were like bombarding him with, oh my God, Josh is in the transfer portal.
John, thank you for reminding me of that. I totally forgot that I tweeted on our last show of the year, and people were worried that I was also leaving radio. I'm trying to find it.
Worried or happy?
Yeah, maybe some people might have been a bit happy about it.
You know what?
You're right. Wow, we've both done that now, John.
We did. We both did it. And you know what? I figured something out. April Fool's Day no longer has.
Yeah, no one cares anymore.
No one cares about that anymore. The whole idea of trying to fool people, no one believes you, et cetera, et cetera. End of year tweets or end of year communications that start out sappy like mine did.
Yeah.
Are now the new April Fool's joke.
That's good.
Yeah, so here's what I said. And I when I reread it after a lot of the, hey, are you leaving?
Yeah, let me hear this.
I said, shout out to the friends of the program at USC 1620 was my dream job when I was in college.
Oh, wow.
I've been hosting it for almost 10 years. Every day I go to work and have a blast with John and Nick. Wouldn't be possible without the support. Love you all. 2024 will be fun. But that second sentence in there,
you can see why people would
I
think
apologize.
that.
And there's a little space in the back end where you're like, 2024 will be fun.
Yeah.
Like if you would have put like a side eye emoji on that,
or a dot.
Yeah.
I apologize. I apologize to everybody.
Yeah,
John,
so I did it. You did it.
I'll retire.
There we
quick.
go. Yeah, sweet. Perfect.
You know what? Here's the solution. Here's the solution. We'll just make it a blanket policy for everybody. If you are going to quit, transfer, whatever, it has to be in the first sentence.
Agreed.
It says,
yes, I'm leaving.
And then you can go through your whole screed. Then,
By the way, Mike Schaefer is now in the
Shafe.
building.
Hey,
Hey, Shafe,
Shafe.
can you hear us?
Going on, yeah.
There we go.
Welcome.
How we doing?
John
Shafe-
wanted to
Hey.
join us for the first crossover of the year because he's not here
Gotcha.
today. Yeah, so that's why we're all sitting around like.
I was wondering, so I walk in and usually there's not like another person on the crossover, and you would say something and Happer would sit there quietly, and I was like, this is the worst imaginable radio. But little did I know there was something else going on.
Yes. John is joining us from his hotel.
Sorry,
I took
Shafe.
a good seat, Shafe. I apologize too. It's usually me over there, and I got to deal with the sound and everything.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good.
Thank you.
How you doing, John?
I'm great. How's everyone else?
Oh man, we're doing great. Everyone, it seems like everyone's sleep schedule got all out of whack.
Oh
I
my
have no
God.
idea what day it is.
I have now really come to the conclusion. I hate this time zone with a white
it's
hot
horrible.
heat of
He's in the east.
1,000
Yeah.
suns. Oh God, it was awful. I'm sitting there in bed and watching the end of the game, and it's like, damn, it's getting late. It's getting real late. And then I saw some of the East Coast people that we follow on Twitter complaining about the lateness of the game. And then it really just kind of washed over me. And I'm like, yeah, this really does suck. I mean, it's 1:15 and this game's just getting done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the mountain time zone is the best. We all universally agree on this that the mountain time zone is the best sports time zone.
I love the mountain time. I love anything that is central and further west.
Yeah, I mean, basically Central Mountain. I'm fine with either one of those.
You out on Pacific time?
I don't like, if you watch an event out west and it gets done at their normal like 9 o'clock, then there's like nothing after that.
Yeah.
That's sort of weird to me. I like sports being there all the way through when I make
When you go to bed.
To go to bed. Yeah, I love late night baseball.
I do
Like,
appreciate
that's
the stuff starting at like 9 a.m. though. That sounds kind of cool.
I think when I was in college, I loved the idea of living out on the West Coast because like the games would end and it's like now I can go to the bars and not have to pay attention to sports at night.
Bars boy.
Yeah.
you do some night running.
Yeah.
You could get one of those
Oh,
I
I have some quarters, John. I have quarters.
Yeah, quarters good.
have a
Well, hey, we never did empty the original jar.
Yeah. I got lots. I brought lots of quarters because I've mentioned running a few times and I've just never gotten around to paying it. So here we go. I got a stack.
Whoa,
of them.
nice.
Call me money bags.
Now, wait,
I got some
now,
quarters.
maybe Shafe, you can help with this, and Connor, you can help with this. The quarter jar existed to keep me from calling the Big 10 the Big 12 and vice versa. And actually originally started with Scott Satterfield, Marcus Satterfield.
That's right.
Which I mastered. I now know my Satterfields. And then with Nick, we changed his midstream. First it was being defensive.
Defensive, yes.
And then it was shortening all of his words and doing
nickname.
things that young people do. Now that we have a new year, do we need
change it?
Do we need new swear jar?
Yes.
Things.
Yes.
Okay, I've got one for Josh. Anytime he
gonna
mentions the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, come on. But they're going to have a deep run this month, John. That wouldn't be fair.
Well, the original
Oh,
idea.
why? Because that same ref that was working on New Year's was going to work all your playoff games?
Let's hope so.
Exactly.
Let's hope so.
One of the initial ideas with Josh is to prevent him from saying my wife, but then we decided that we all liked
Love that.
Yes. Yeah. She hated that. But then on the way to get married, she was like, you can keep saying it if you want to. I was like, really?
It's a hell of a concession.
It was. I was
Really
like, thank
is.
you, dear.
Moments before the biggest, the biggest
moment.
thing.
Yeah.
And she concedes like such an important part of your ethos and being. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. Now, I still don't think she likes it. I try not to say it very much, especially around her, but I say it on the radio.
You say it less. It's
Do I?
definitely- Yeah, you
You
definitely
have
say
said
it
it
less.
Hot
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dangerous.
it has been less now that you've been married.
Oh, maybe.
Now they actually have a wife.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the Eagles today, and then I'll talk about my wife, and she wouldn't be happy with
Yeah,
that.
do this comment from Hot Danger.
Hot Danger says anytime someone says people forget.
So that would be actually for me probably the most.
I also say
Josh
people
does it
forget.
a lot.
Yeah.
I use it ironically.
Yeah, I love saying people forget.
I try never to use it.
Yeah,
I just let you guys have that corner, and I want nothing to do with it.
There's two things that Schaefer, and by the way, Yippee says, why is Schaefer here? Schaefer's here because John's going to be leaving.
Schaefer's going to do the show.
Yeah. If I just can get paid, I'll leave right now.
He doesn't
It'll be
care.
a nice scenic drive up and a nice scenic drive
It's a
back.
sunny day.
John has to enjoy the Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
Oh. Hey, it's dark already.
At least you got a 7
everyone
o'clock
hates the
local
Big East
start
time zone.
out there, by the way.
Not great.
Yeah.
But the other one that I know Schaefer is not in on is when I say the something boys.
Yeah.
So-
That's another
Oh,
one.
I think that's a good one.
I do too.
It's
I
a
like
good
it.
bit.
I
So
like
it's
that one.
basically like you guys take these things and then you beat them so far into
That's
the
a bit,
ground.
Schaefer.
The beat the dead horses boys.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
There you
we
go.
are.
You better get them out now because once we make this your punishment, you're done.
People forget. I'm good. I think that would be a good one if I
The Bit Boys?
the bit
The Bit.
wait, which one am I getting a quarter for? Saying boys or saying people forget?
Well, I mean,
Ooh.
Schaefer does bring up a good point. That one is more personalized to you, the whatever boys.
I like saying
I
it.
do people forget. So if you guys want me in, if you want more quarters this year, I can
So-
join in.
Oh,
If
what
Happer
yeah, I
is
love
tuning
this.
in, I would propose that anytime he references the 2014 Royals
Oh
season,
man, that's
that would be hard.
yeah.
I
We might need to get
so
some
I
more
think
stuff
his
on
I
would
that.
have
mentioned
to
it
be a
once
choice
today.
between people forget.
Why did you mention it once today?
Somebody
Yeah, of
tweeted
course
out a
you did.
clip of Lorenzo Cain scoring from first in the 2015 American League Championship Series. It was
God.
awesome.
The best part is that's not even the World Series team. They
No,
lost that year.
15 was.
Yeah.
15 was.
But like every year, don't you do like, hey, today I'm going to tell you about the A's game again? Like you just do
The
a
wild
whole
card game was
you do
pretty
a whole
awesome.
segment about let's remember
I
the
don't
game.
do that every day, but I do it a lot.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, fine.
That's
That
a
could
good
be-
one,
that could be
Schaefer.
a
So
quarter for
I'm
me.
just saying you should pick between those. Those are where.
So Schaefer,
but that's
just,
if you're getting involved.
Schaefer, just to nail it down, like specifically the 14 Royals or just the 14-15 Royals?
I think you could do 14-15 Royals, but I feel like if you, weirdly enough, you talk more about the 14 team.
He
I
does.
do. I
that
hold
didn't
them
win.
near and dear
Sure,
to
yeah.
my heart. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'll let you make the distinction there, but that would be what I would offer.
That's fine. You
I
can
like
include
that.
both of them.
It might now. Okay, it might be more fun if Connor has to pay a quarter for people forget, because I think that's going to be harder for you
I
to
do
handle.
a lot of people forget.
because it's just a reaction.
Do you just have to say
Yeah.
it like people forget and I owe a quarter and then you just continue on?
Yeah, that's what you do. So sometimes when I wanted to talk about running, I would say, let me get out a quarter so I can mention this
Wait,
very specific running.
Do you now have the freedom to talk about running?
I guess so.
Ugh.
I've kind of trained myself to not mention it on the radio, though. So
You know what? I think we'll change Josh's.
That's your voice.
What was that, John?
We'll change Josh's to talking about jogging
Damn.
or
I
walking.
want to talk about running again.
All right. Well, I mean, well, what about Nick?
I was gonna say, what do we need to? What's Nick's thing?
I don't know. What should I improve myself upon as a person?
I mean, so many things.
I kind of like the defensive thing. That worked out.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, you're not as defensive as you used to be, except for that one time.
Yeah, we don't talk about.
Are
that
we
now.
doing this for rehabilitation? Is this why we're doing this?
John
saw it
wanted
as
to
a
do
rehab
it so he could be a better on-air person because he
Yes.
was sick of saying Scott Satterfield.
Yeah,
and it
worked.
did
Yes.
make him a better host. Now that's also why we have our little board over here of
Our
all
cheat
of
sheet.
I
Erased.
also love Garrett 1T McGuire still makes me laugh because our listeners did not like that we called him Tiny Baby Boy for a spell, and so we gave him a new nickname.
Imagine they got offended by that.
1T because he doesn't have two T's in Garrett.
Mm.
So I don't know, Nick. Where are you hoping to improve in your life?
I don't know.
No-
I like
nothing
the
to
defensive
improve?
thing. I don't.
Wow.
You guys find something for me.
All right,
What do you?
well.
What do I do that you hate?
Well,
Narrow it down.
I mean, I
Well,
uploaded.
okay,
the
now,
pods.
now, Josh, let me throw this one at. Let me
Yeah.
throw this one at you because Josh is notorious, and he used to do this with Stibbs too, of
What?
backseat producing.
Not one time.
What if Nick's punishment were, and this is a little weird, so hear me out. What
Okay.
if Nick's punishment was every time Josh felt he had it to, he felt it necessary to backseat produce? In other words, say, hey, you need to call Schaefer, you need to call Sip.
Nick not front seat producing.
Oh, so Nick goes a quarter for not
producing.
Not producing.
It feels like Josh could game
Take
that
advantage
system.
of that.
It's
yeah.
who Josh
Yeah.
relied.
And then
Yeah.
suddenly Nick is just out of all the quarters.
And I'm poor to begin
Well,
with.
then what if we just narrowed it down to when we're inside of 45 seconds
45 seconds.
45 seconds to the end of the break and he hasn't called the guest yet.
That's a good one.
That's good. Was it 40 seconds?
Yeah, because I would say that's always the time when we're looking at
I
the
got one.
clock and we're like, uh-oh.
This is on the same alley.
For Nick?
Okay.
Yeah, for Nick.
Okay.
Improve Nick's segment.
Quote, I'm busy.
Ooh, Nick does say he's busy.
If he ever says I'm busy.
That's fair.
Along those lines, Odson says worry less.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, because it does kind of fit in with being busy.
Well, that's just anxiety. That's a medical condition.
Yeah, I don't think we're
I
gonna.
can try.
I don't think we're gonna get that out of him. Though we're all gonna get
I
rich
would like
maybe
to
in the
worry
process.
less. That would be great.
Nick, what do you think about I'm busy?
I mean that's fine.
He does
but
say I'm
there are
busy a
times
lot.
where I
What
am
if you are
actually
busy? Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does it have to be literally the words I'm busy, or could it be
I was busy?
Or I got a lot of things to do, or there's a lot on my plate. I mean, anything that relates
Busy
to
boy.
his busy boy. Which, by the way, would be now. I know. Have we determined is that Josh's that he can't do the boys thing anymore?
Yeah, it's either that or people I guess you have people forget. Wow, if I can't say the something boys, that is gonna alter my on-air personality
But
immensely.
for me, the people forget thing is this only eligible to happen during the crossover?
That's a you and Josh Otson
If it's during my show, I got to go to the bank.
Well,
I think we have. I mean, in order for this, I mean, if we're going to do this to make us better, it's got to happen during the show.
Yeah, and if you're gonna do something, I think Otson should as well. You know, handshake meme.
Oh man.
Yeah. Hurt and Husker fan writes that for Nick, it should be every time he's way overconfident about something that turns out to be way wrong.
See, that's not a bad one.
Yeah, because that does happen.
That does happen a lot.
He'll be like, "Oh no, definitely not," and then it's like, "Yeah, no, Nick was wrong."
Well, the problem with that is though we'd have
like landing the plane. Like he was very confident that he could land the plane.
Both of these two, right?
Yeah,
and neither of them could land a plane.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Maybe.
Otson says I agree to nothing, by the way, so he's not participating.
He'll play. We'll
new
get him.
year, new year, new Josh.
Maybe
All
that's
right.
something that can be immediately disproven that I'm overconfident about. Like, there's no planes that I can just land 2 minutes after I say I could land a plane.
That's definitely true.
Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad one.
I like that one.
All right. So this is my thought for me.
Okay.
Do we pick one of my soapbox issues, and anytime I bring it up, it's a quarter?
Oh, well, then we get to decide which of the soapbox
Yeah.
issues you're not
Yeah.
allowed to.
Is it all of them?
Yes.
No, we can. He can have.
I mean,
John,
literally, the purpose of this show is to get on our soapboxes. But
Yeah,
if there
but-
is like a soapbox,
I think if John
What's
is not
John's
allowed,
most famous soapbox?
I think the one he gets on the most often is that review should be challenge only. And so John is no longer allowed
No.
to talk about challenge only.
I don't want to take that away from him because I want him to keep going on that soapbox.
Okay.
I
All
like
right.
that soapbox.
Okay.
Can his just be that he can't say soapbox anymore since it's 2024 and at least half of your listeners have no idea?
actually, I don't say soapbox a lot. It's
not.
anytime
It's
I
literally
start
the word
down that road and it's you guys.
24 times in the last minute.
Yeah, it is usually Nick and I where we say, get out John's soapbox.
Yeah,
because-
I don't
that.
usually
I don't
say
like
the
this for
soapbox.
John, though, because John has so many soapboxes, he's got options.
But again, if he wasn't allowed to talk about, Sam says every time John complains about Popeyes.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That is a
John
good
does
one.
complain
It's
about
not-
Popeyes.
that's less of a
lot.
soapbox and more of just
Yeah, but I mean, it would be,
We would
there's-
lose a good bit there, though, if John wasn't allowed to talk about how.
John-
oh, you better get in line now if you want to eat in 3 weeks.
John's
See-
most famous soapbox for me is the divisions, John.
See, and this is
Oh,
CJ. just,
scholarships, John, with the
Scholarship
contracts, John.
Division.
hey, hey, that's a great idea.
Contract, John.
That is a great idea, and it's
Hey, I
getting
think
better
you
all
just
the
said it.
time.
I think divisions is the answer because there's no more divisions this year.
Yeah,
and it's
stop talking about it, John.
It's gonna
It's
be
over.
It's going to be a crap show this year, and John's going to want to talk about it, and he cannot unless he gives us a quarter. I think that might be a
Okay,
good one.
okay. So now let's because obviously the divisions are gone.
Yeah.
But will that also branch off into, because the biggest concern I have about the no divisions is we're going to have goofy ass tiebreakers and something. So does that count as part of the no divisions rant?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you just can't rant about it. Like we'll have to have a discussion, but if you start getting fired up about it,
I'm gonna start putting on a timer.
Yeah. We need a sound effect too for when quarters, you know.
See, that would be a good bit. You get a literal,
Josh.
like the sand through the hourglass thing, and you set it down
Oh.
when he starts a rant, and then by the time the last sand goes through, he's got to be done. Even if he's midway into the rant, he's done.
That's good. Does this mean I get a whole hourglass to talk about the Royals?
Well, no, you would get a much smaller.
Connor is going to bring in an hourglass. It's body sized.
Get me up, a literal
It's like,
hourglass.
hold on a second. I want to talk about low cane.
Yes.
Turn it over.
An entire hourglass to talk about the 2014 AL wildcard game. I could get
Wow,
that.
an hourglass that takes 60 minutes, only $29 on Amazon.
It's a big
This
hourglass.
I think we need to buy one of these and slap a zone logo on the side of it.
That's great.
Let's just hope a part-timer doesn't tip it over and it spills sand all over the studio.
That'll be their quarter if we spill our
you-
sand hourglass.
back
then
you
they
up
can
and
go to the
stand.
quarter.
All right, let's let our new boss know about this. I want to get an hourglass. 1620 the hourglass.
I love it.
The hourglass boys, Josh.
There it is.
All right, so what have we decided then? What have we decided? So for John, it's soapbox about no divisions. For Happer, it's the 2014 Royals. What was it?
2014/2015, yeah.
14-15 Royals.
Whenever I'm overconfident about something and I'm wrong.
And then for me, is it the something boys? Oh man, R.I.P.
Yeah,
that's one of my favorite bits.
I
I
am
can
not-
still do it.
I'm
the
gonna miss it.
overproducing one is not bad. I don't know. That's less of
Wait,
a punishment for you though.
I mean, I do backseat produce. Should I not? I guess people are
like
listeners
you
would
just
see
did it
that, though.
subconsciously.
Yeah.
You were just like, we need a sound effect, by the way, Nick.
It's a good idea though.
Yeah.
I
the
kinda
idea
like
of
this
having to
now.
pay a quarter every time he tries to produce a show.
Yeah.
It is not the producer of the show.
Right. I think that could add up pretty quickly.
Well, yeah. I mean, John, think about when we would do Fired Up for Football. Nick didn't edit the open ever, and every
See, now
time,
Nick is just getting trampled.
yeah, we were critical of him.
John never updated his open. Granted, mine was topical, but John's were kind of topical too.
Nick's was
No,
very
mine
Nick's-
were always
We-
about the
Nick's, folks,
previous season.
It's October. Don't we
yeah.
love October?
Some of that was laziness, but the other half was like, I bet this would be funny like 4 months from now.
Yeah. Hot Danger, by the way, says for Happer, it's people forget. So he wants you
okay.
to get rid of people forget.
Okay, yeah, that's a big one, but I'm willing to play.
All right. So I can't backseat produce anymore?
If you think that's
you
more
can, you just have to pay the
influential.
quarters.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta
That's
pay the
true.
troll toll.
But is that more of the thing than
The whatever boys, the backseat
Yeah.
producing boys.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Backseat boys.
there you go. What's better for the content, or because like a lot of the backseat producing does happen off the air. You know, it happens in a commercial break where we're see now. John will do it too, and he'll just be like, Steve Sipple, and he'll just start singing about Steve Sipple.
I love
like
that.
John's
I
way
like
of doing
that.
it. Honestly, it's a little more not
Passive
harsh.
aggressive. Yeah.
Where I just go, have you called Sipple yet?
And I'm like,
Yeah.
John does it. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay, stick with the whatever, boys.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think stick because it's got to be something to improve you because Nick could then reverse. He could purposely wait to call guests and force you to say something. Thus
that's
forcing
true.
you a quarter.
That'd be detrimental to the show.
All right.
that's true.
Yeah.
It would.
Goodbye to the boys.
The boys, R.I.P. Schaefer's not playing. We'll get Josh on something.
Yeah.
I mean, if this was last year, I would have definitely had to pay a quarter every time I got one of the Purdy's wrong when talking about.
Dude,
John.
And I would have owed
Yeah.
like at least $20. by
Last
the
And
end.
you know what? I did it too. I was starting to do it too. And I didn't even hear
Now he's
Shafe
gone,
doing
so
it.
it's not a problem anymore.
Yeah, John, when the last show that you were gone for last year, when Shea filled in, I kid you not, every time we discussed Brock, he would call him Chubba. And then we started discussing Chubba and he called him Brock.
Yeah,
It
a
was
problem.
incredible stuff.
It was a real problem.
It was so, you were mad. You're like,
I was
"Ah!"
not happy.
Well, you still have to talk about one. I mean, Brock's going to be in our lives for a little while.
I mean,
But you don't have to
Raising
confuse them.
Cane's. It's fine. It's there.
Oh, yeah, we got to talk about this today. I forgot to put that on my prep sheet. Yeah, that was another tweet from the time away.
So just to recap here.
Yeah.
Schaefer's doing the show. John's retiring.
Yes.
And
I can't say boys anymore.
And you can't say boys anymore.
But what about the drop though? Because the drop.
I mean, the positive boys. We can play the drop. Boys.
Well, you're not saying it.
I'm not saying it. I just.
But
yeah,
it is his voice.
Well, yeah, but it's a
saying it.
drop.
From 2021.
There's enough sound effects in there.
Should he owe a dime for every one of those drops?
I do have a nickel in my hand right now, John.
I saw that nickel earlier and wondered if you were cheating the system by passing off nickels as quarters and seeing if no one would notice. And I was going to call you out at the commercial
Where'd
break.
you get
but
a
not on air.
nickel? Who has a nickel?
So when I brought all the coins, I accidentally brought a nickel. I have a dime in my bag too.
Wow,
I have a dime bag.
Wait, you have a dime in your bag?
Yeah, got a dime in my bag. Are you happy
Hello.
to see me?
Were you spending time on Bourbon Street with the lady who flashed herself on
Hey,
TV?
we'll be talking about that today. You see that?
I did. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't see it as it happened. It was
Yeah,
like
I
in
missed
group
it too.
chats.
I just saw a lot of
People were like, "Oh, there's boobs on ESPN."
Okay, but here's the thing, and I don't want to spoil what you guys are going to talk about later, but Rob Anderson and I were having a conversation about this because usually those scene setter bits are pre-taped.
Yes.
And I said, I bet this one was live because there is no way that a producer would have rolled that into their system as one of their things and would not have seen that.
John, I was the same
And everyone
way.
saw it right away too.
Because
Yes.
I was watching it and then I looked back down, but the first thing I noticed was someone walking in a Texas shirt, the horn. So I was like, oh, this is definitely recorded, because why would someone be walking around wearing their team's gear while the playoff game is unfolding?
Oh, this happens.
No, people go to the city just to go to the city.
Yeah, there's people that just put on shirts just to wear shirts.
I know. I just don't like
Yeah.
these people. It's the biggest game of your life,
People
bro.
wear
Watch
shirts.
the game. But yeah. But John, I mean, remember in Game of Thrones when the Starbucks cup was on one of the last episodes? So maybe
We found out what happened to that producer. They ended up on ESPN.
Is that what they were doing to boobs? They were just promoting boobs?
Maybe they were, yeah.
On ESPN subconsciously, like they were in Starbucks.
I never really thought of boobs as a product placement,
Well,
but
Hey, I
there you
watched
go.
that Super Bowl between the Panthers and the Patriots.
It helped Janet Jackson's career.
Yeah,
that's
Man,
true.
I imagine being like I guess teenagers have the whole internet now, but like if I was
Yeah.
like 12 and I saw it last night, I'd be like, whoa. Whereas now where Schaefer's just like boobs, who cares?
Is there anything in the world that needs promoted less than boobs?
Oh, good question, Nick.
Wow.
Great poll question.
Hey, come on. Hooters still has to make money.
Yeah, Nick.
I didn't hear what he said.
Oh, he said Hooters still has to make money.
That's
Nick's
fair.
done a very good job at participating
Yeah, I
in
feel really bad.
this whole segment without
That's
hearing
fine.
John.
I can hear some of them
Yeah.
sometimes.
Couldn't he have just played it into the studio though?
But then we had to turn off the microphone.
Yeah, it's a stupid radio.
Yeah, indeed. That's
Oh,
some
is
good
this because Nick's not wearing? Shafe's wearing
Nate's
Nick's
wearing
headphones?
his headphones, yeah. Yeah, you see him there, John, in the studio with
Yes,
the white
yes.
headphones. Yeah, that's Mike
Yeah.
Schaefer.
The really cool white headphones.
Yep, there he's waving to us. All right, well, should we say goodbye? Happy New Year to John.
Happy New Year. Yeah.
Have a
Happy
great
New
call
Year.
tonight, John.
I will.
Nick,
Yes.
great job on the best ofs. Everybody.
job. Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank Nick for that.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah.
Also
I
for
think-
uploading all those podcasts.
Yeah, great job there,
Uploading
Nick.
all those podcasts.
Yeah. I hope that people enjoyed that I just put them as 3-hour chunks, and I was like, I'm not
It's
going to
good.
split this stuff up.
It's good. The Chunk Boys.
I can't say it anymore. I miss it already. Someone just texted into the show, Dave, I'm going to miss the something
Well,
boys.
sorry, Josh.
Yeah, me too, Dave.
John and I can still say it.
I'll say it away from radio, I guess, now. You want to get my unfiltered thoughts? Just give me a call and I'll say it to you.
It's gonna be hard. It's
Yep.
gonna be hard.
Mm.
John, congrats on your retirement, and
Thank you.
hopefully enjoy the game tonight. Respect Ed Cooley. Don't forget to respect Ed Cooley. By the way,
I will of course respect Ed Cooley.
Thank you.
Everything about him.
All right, John, see you later.
All right. Talk to you later, boys.
John back on the Grum tomorrow. That was the crossover powered by Everlevel Concrete Repair in Omaha at everlevelconcrete.com. Mike Schaefer is in. The program starts next here on 1620 The Zone.
The Connor Happer Show.
Why do you want to shut up Greg Sankey?
Guy talks too much.
He's cool.
He compared the college football playoff to Sesame Street.
He's an elitist for his own conference, just like we are elitists for our own show, Josh.
Well, this
we
show
say
is
this
the
is the best show, and there is no other show that's better than this. And everybody, if you listen to other shows, you're like watching Sesame Street.
One of these things is not like the other.
Okay.
I also love cookies.
The Connor Happer Show. Weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A bit more mild on Tuesday. Expect partly sunny skies with a west to northwest breeze, gusts around 10 to 15 miles per hour most of the day. Highs in the upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
The Zone Hotline is powered by 42 Degrees. The Source. By your mom's house. Hey there, Greg Wagner joining you from the Nebraska Game and Parks Commission. Time now for another Outdoor Nebraska update. It's hunting time in the Husker State. For a safe season, remember to be totally certain of your target and your background before you fire that shot. In a moment, ask yourself, is the bullet flight path clear? Is that a legitimate target? And what am I going to hit if I miss my shot? Please be careful out there. If you'd like more information on hunting safety, go to outdoornebraska.gov. That's outdoornebraska.gov. From wildfowl to owls. Great time of year to step outside and watch wildlife. Many animals are still active, plus the leaves have mostly fallen, vegetation is set back, and we'll have some warmer weather. Maybe you'll hike a state park trail or head to a public reservoir to do that. Oh, and don't forget your camera. Oh, it's on your phone. That's right. I'm Greg Wagner.
Email any of our shows anytime into the Equitable Bank inbox. At Equitable, we take banking personally. For me, John at 1620thezone.com. The Equitable Bank inbox from 1620 The Zone.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know? Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
This edition of Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone is proudly presented by Union Bank and Trust. The program starts now.
KOZN. Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO. Don't miss a moment, they'll give you your fix. They're on every day from 2 until 6. Spend your afternoons with John, Josh, and Nick. John, Josh, and Nick. They'll show you what sports talk really is.
We are back for another year of programs, and wouldn't you know it, Mike Schaefer is in the building.
Hello.
There you go. That's the type of excitement we're going to have all day long.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. Husker Athletics, Creighton, and yes, UNO.
Welcome in on this Tuesday, the first day of the year for us here on Unsportsmanlike Conduct, alongside Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports. Josh Peterson, Nick Grimm is producing. John is gone because Creighton has an early game tonight. They'll be taking on Georgetown at 6 o'clock, pregame at 5:30.
That means we're off the air early.
We're off the air early. Very sad. Yeah, we're going to have a short week this week. We're going to have a short show today.
Wow, nothing wrong with short things all the time.
Very, very sad. It's very average sized is what the week will be for us.
Everyone's told me that.
But we are very happy to have Mr. Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports. You know what happens when Schaefer is here? We end up talking about the NFL a whole lot. We get excited about things. Schaefer has texted me his take on the referees from the Detroit Lions-Dallas Cowboys game, and I might just let him be the one who speaks about what happened in that game on Saturday.
Whatever you need.
I have a takes.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you're wrong, Nick."
Yeah.
Shape has left takes. They all listen.
Well, you might understand why I am okay with him delivering the takes when you hear his takes later. Shave, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Is it weird for you to be back at work for the first time since the 23rd?
23rd, yes.
This was the last show that you had done.
Yes.
A lot has happened since then.
Dude, a ton has happened.
It's pretty wild.
Happer did a fun bit on his show where every now and then throughout it, he would give some takes about things that happened like 8-9 days ago. So we'll probably hit on a few of those things in content. Like I was trying to think of what were the big stories. Okay, if I were to tell you or ask you 5 big stories that weren't like playoff yesterday or NFL this last weekend. So like something from the week before. What would be the things that popped in your mind? Like one that came to my mind was the Russell Wilson benching. Like that was obviously a big story that we have not opined on at all on this radio station. What else has happened or happened early on in the Christmas week that you would want to give takes about? Ravens 49ers.
Yeah, I mean that game obviously the whole Christmas weekend with the NFL, obviously a lot happened there, and we're just setting up for a really fantastic, I think anything could happen playoffs, and it excites me because now instead of 3 weeks ago where the 49ers are the best team in the league and there's nobody close.
Yes.
Now it's the 49ers or Baltimore are the best teams in the league and
it's not even close. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You texted me during that game on Christmas night and you said, and then I never heard from you again, but you basically said, see, I told you, like, this is like, you don't have to be super worried about this team. They have flaws or whatever it was. I don't remember exactly what you said.
And then they go and they beat the Commanders on Sunday and it's just like, oh, they're great again, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, they beat the worst team in the league. Like, I would take Commanders 32 out of 32 out of all the teams in the NFL right now.
Wow, right now. Well, that's a good question. John and I will be doing our top 5 group of 5 tomorrow, trying to figure out where they will be. They're definitely bad.
Yeah, they're the worst team. I would take the Panthers over them. I would take the Patriots over them. I would take the Cardinals over. Like, there's
Patriots
nobody
keep winning
worse.
games.
Yeah, there's nobody worse than the Commanders.
They're pretty bad. They're a bad team.
I might take the Commanders over Kevin O'Connell and Jaron Hall in an operation again if that should ever start another game for the Vikings.
That was pretty
That's
bad.
probably worse.
Yeah.
But that would probably be the end of the list. So yeah, congrats to the 49ers. You beat up on the worst team in the NFL. You're good again. Everyone agrees.
The Raising Canes of the NFL?
They're not the Raising Canes.
Oh, their quarterback.
Just Brock Purdy.
Just Brock Purdy.
Because he's the chicken and everything else is, you know, the more I have to explain this, the less it loses its luster, I feel like.
Or the more it loses its luster?
Well, yeah. Yes.
Because I was going to say the less it loses its luster, the better it gets.
The more I explain it, the less it loses. Yeah, that makes sense.
Amazing Daniel says, obviously, the XFL USFL merger, that was a big topic.
I saw a tweet about the USFL is back, and I didn't follow up anything on that at all.
Yeah, indeed.
I felt like it was a relatively, other than just like your NFL happenings and everyone losing their mind that Florida State's team did not try in their bowl game.
Yeah.
Thought it was a mostly quiet week in between.
I would agree. It did seem, Josh writes, Vikings suck, Shafe. There you go.
Look, it's hard to argue.
Whew, they're bad. I was reminded again why I love not having to do a show in between Christmas and New Year's, because it's the same thing every year. Oh man, these bowl games, they don't mean what they used to. And I watched with my pappy and it's like, yep, time to move on though, man.
I wanted to, like, whenever we get this opportunity, I just really want to press upon. Yesterday, we got to watch 2 fantastic playoff games.
Yeah.
And none of the conversation during those games had to be about the transfer portal, bowl season, opting out. It didn't matter. It was 2 really good games between 4 teams that all pretty much, you know, I don't think Alabama deserved to be there, but all pretty much had earned their way to being there.
Yeah.
And it was 2 great games, and now we're setting up for a championship game that I'm really intrigued by.
Yeah.
So,
me too.
And I think the 2 best teams are playing in it. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Like, as hard as everyone has worked all year to come up with a reason as to why Washington isn't good enough, and that Michigan hasn't played anyone or whatever it has to be, there's no one better than these 2 teams. You could give me Georgia and I'm just going to ignore it because they don't have the level of wins that either of these teams have.
I heard someone say it this morning, and this can lead right into the Grum Down, and we'll talk about the playoff games in the next segment. But I heard someone say this morning that these were the 2 biggest stories in college football all year. Michael Penix and what he was able to do on offense, and Michigan. Obviously, the Michigan storyline sucked up so much of the oxygen, especially by the time we got to November, and that was a daily occurrence for a while. I cannot wait. And so that leads us to the Grum Down, brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. The championship game is indeed set. We will talk about that in our very next segment. Looking forward to doing so, and why we should be rooting for Washington beyond the obvious. Beyond the obvious. Will I apologize? A question many are asking for. I did say that to somebody. I said to my wife, I said, I don't know what to do. Like, do you want, I don't ever like talking about the refs. Many listeners of the show will know that that's been my bit for, not my bit. It's just how I operate for years and years and years. This is odd because I haven't really been in a situation like this where something so horrible has gone for my team. And so I don't really kind of know what to do with my hands in here, so we can talk about that later.
I'm more than happy to answer all of that.
Awesome. More fallout from week 17 in the NFL. And will we be clutching our pearls as well in regards to bowl games and people sitting out and all those things? It is a Tuesday, which means we will do the hot take market. And finally, North Korea and boobs.
Oh.
Why they're not together, but could be. Not really. Those are two separate questions that are coming up in content later on the show. That's the Grum Down, brought to you by the Rooferys. John Higgins, Weather Guard, 402-951-1620. If you'd like to give us a call, 402-951-1620 on the 42 Degrees of Source hotline by your mom's house. You can also hit us up on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed at USC1620 or into the Equitable Bank inbox, Josh at 1620thezone.com or Nick at 1620thezone.com. Flounder wants to know, Nick, will Nick need a pad of Post-its for IOUs in place of quarters?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Could I get those plastic quarters that you'd get as toys?
Definitely not.
Oh.
That'd be a bummer if we dumped out the thing of quarters and there were a lot of plastic quarters in there. Be a bad time.
Didn't specify
and
the
nickels.
kind of quarter.
And nickels. I put the nickel over there, so I put it away.
We need a separate nickel jar.
Charles wants to know, this is not a Dumb Debates Wednesday, but it's a good one. Worst quarterback room, Vikings or Huskers? Oof. Shafe?
I mean, it got to be Nebraska, right? Like, are we talking the 2023 season?
Yeah.
I mean,
what about at this current state? What it was at week whatever for Nebraska and week 17, 18 for the Vikings?
It would still be Nebraska.
You think so?
Yeah. Like, I'm not sure how to even be able to do it because part of it is like, okay, well, they're NFL players versus Chubba Purdy. Like, so as bad as Jaron Hall was, his entire career in college was better than.
What if you do like
Purdy.
pound for pound, like where they are in the NFL versus where Nebraska's quarterback situation was versus like the Big Ten or college
It's
football?
hard because there's not even like probably the worst quarterback situation in the NFL, is it?
I don't know. I mean, who?
Like Jaron Hall was terrible, sure, but like Nick Mullins threw for 418 yards on the Lions the week before.
Yeah,
they scored 30 some points on the bench. Like Nick Mullins is difficult because he's going to turn the ball over a ton, but from a talent perspective, like he threw for nearly 1,000 yards since he went into that game from the Raiders on.
Yeah.
So
the thing that is always interesting to me, and I think your team has been ground zero of this multiple times this year, and that's like you can be good for a week and sometimes even two, but man, once they get that film on you, the bottom falls out. Like I remember texts that you and I were having in like October about, or maybe it was November, but Dobbs and what he was doing is like, okay, how far can this team go this year? And then it just changed overnight.
To me, that's all just a conversation about the head coach's inability to adjust his offense to the personnel that he has. And like he has no TJ Hawkinson, and yet you're making your tight ends like your first read for your rookie court. Like it's a very weird setup that they had this year where you start 4 different quarterbacks, you have multiple injuries all throughout your, like every single one of their offensive starters, save for 2, got hurt.
Yeah.
Missed a game this year. Like it's tough to win, and then on defense, you're down 4 starters as well. So it was a weird game. And yet I still felt like going into it, you have Justin Jefferson. You just threw for 418 yards on the Lions. You're at home.
Yeah.
This Packers team, their best corner is not playing because he went out for a coin toss that he was not supposed to go out for. Like, you wouldn't think the team that got blown out was the one that had the weird coin toss story. Or the other way around. So that's just the way that it is. They're a team that just was leaking oil getting to the finish line and very clearly will not be attempting to play for anything in week 18.
Yeah. We'll talk about week 18 as we roll on. Also, Michael Brunt, Steve Sipple will join us today on Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Nice to be back for another year, 2024. We appreciate you joining us all show long. And again, we will be off a little bit early today at 5:30 for pregame coverage of Creighton and Georgetown. Let's talk about the semis. Let's talk about Michigan and Washington matching up in the national championship game. We will do so when we return. He's Mike Schaefer. I'm Josh Peterson. Nick Grimm producing. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone.
For the Jays, the Huskers, and even you Jayskers, we are 1620 The Zone.
Your neighborhood is more than blocks of buildings. It's the people who live there that make it special. At Union Bank and Trust, we're not just creating home loans, we're making neighbors. We're not just small business lenders, we're small business shoppers. We don't just live in your community, we help you build it. Because our people are your people. Visit ubt.com/neighbor to learn more. Union Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
There's help us. They're being there.
This is Nikki Haley. Look, I'll just say it. Biden's too old, and Congress is the most exclusive nursing home in America. Washington keeps failing because politicians from yesterday can't lead us into tomorrow.
Nikki Haley, a new generation of conservative leadership.
We need term limits, mental competency tests for politicians over 75, and a real plan to defeat China and restore our economy. I've long said Biden's not going to make it, and a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. Republicans need to leave behind the chaos and drama of the past with a new generation and a new conservative president. I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
The NFL regular season is wrapping up, and there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is so easy to use. There's so many different ways to bet, like live same-game parlays. Find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays, and so much more. It is the first round of NFL games of 2024. We've got playoffs just around the corner. So visit FanDuel. Don't miss out on any of the action. Go to FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Hey everyone, Josh Peterson here from my friends at Kugler Vision. It is a new year and you deserve a new view. Do not wait any longer. Kugler Vision took great care of me at the start of 2018. They will take great care of you as well in 2024. Visit the website kuglervision.com.
Hey everybody, it's Jimmy Allen.
And former Nebraska quarterback Adrian Martinez.
You know the After Hours Lounge is open from 6 to 8 p.m. when the sports schedule allows.
And guess what? I'm stopping by from time to time.
When Rob Love's off for the night, Adrian's going to stop by and talk all things Nebraska football, what he's been up to in the NFL, and you know we're going to still talk all things high school sports.
And who knows what we'll get into. Maybe you'll get to ask me some questions, so stop by from 6 to 8 p.m. and check out the show.
Brought to you by Bellevue University and Papillion Sanitation here on 1620 The Zone.
This is Unsportsmanlike Conduct, the 1620 The Zone.
Josh Peters and Mike Schaefer with you on this Tuesday, January the 2nd. Unsportsmanlike Conduct on 1620 The Zone. JD tweets in, says, you know who made out in this whole Viking mess? Kirk Cousins. At the start of the season, it was a foregone conclusion he was gone. Now he has to be re-signed in Minnesota or an entire staff gets fired next year. I know you want him back.
Yeah, no, I'm proudly wearing my shirtless Kirk Cousins sweatshirt today, and
that was great that
his performance on Sunday.
Yeah.
He showed up.
Yeah, he did.
No, I would love to have him back. I mean, he was playing as good as he probably had for the Vikings prior to that injury. I mean, they were on their way to potentially putting up 40, maybe 50 against the Packers in that game when he tears the Achilles and goes out, and so. He was having a fantastic year, and it's disappointing that I didn't get to see where that was going to go. But yeah, I would like him back. I mean, never thought Nick Mullins was going to be the guy. I never really believed that they had this magical thing in Jaron Hall.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it, I've been content with the idea of bringing Kirk back. And if they draft a developmental quarterback later and then you see what you have behind, I'm fine with that too. But sign him for a 2-3 year thing at $35 million, and that's a $10 million break compared to the quarterbacks that are now $45-48 million cap hits.
Of course, one of the coaches that could have coached Kirk Cousins is still at Michigan, and that is Jim Harbaugh, and he is going to a national championship game. Michigan's first appearance in and I guess it really wasn't technically a national championship game since the 1998 Rose Bowl when they defeated Washington State, split the title with Nebraska, and they'll be playing a Washington team in the final year of the Pac-12 conference. And I mean, so many different angles and things that I, kind of took away from yesterday. And I don't know what is the first thing that is going to stand out to you, but to me, I watched those games, and even though, I mean, certainly Michigan trailed throughout much of that game, especially in the second half, I thought that they would have been kicking themselves if they would have been unable to do it, because I thought that they were the better football team throughout basically the entire game. I felt the same way about Washington. I thought that now they came to play a little bit more, right? They had that. They really put a stranglehold on Texas in the second half. Some turnovers, just like in the Michigan game, really allowed for Texas to come back in. And then that just insanely goofy ending that would have been one of the all-time collapses that we have never really seen before. But I think that we will be entering into that championship game next Monday and saying that these were the teams that put together the whatever it's resume, whether it's best performances, most memorable moments. I mean, best teams. These were the two teams that did it all the way back in week one, and they did it every single week. And it culminated in an awesome day of football yesterday with tons of memorable plays. And I think that, styles make fights. Like, this is going to be a really good chess match of what Michigan does well and then what Washington does well.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. I mean, I thought that Michigan was the better team in that game, and they were giving it away. I mean, they played really tight, or it felt like they were played really, really tight.
First play should have been an interception.
Yeah, and say this, and I've said it before, I don't want the Vikings to be the team that takes JJ McCarthy. No part of me thinks that's going to be a long-term NFL answer, and I could be completely wrong on that, but I just don't. I don't really see it with him. But the rest of that game, the rest of that team, like I felt like they just kept letting Alabama hang around, or Alabama then was letting Michigan hang around. It felt like Michigan had more talent. It felt like Blake Corum was maybe the best player in that game, and it just. Ultimately, I thought the right team, or the better team of the two, won that when they got it to overtime. And to be entirely honest, when they got to overtime, I thought that they were going to win.
Yeah,
I felt more comfortable about their ability to take the 25 yards right in front of them and just go right down the field and score.
And they did 2 plays.
I felt like Alabama sort of needed more stuff to go right for them to do it, in part because they couldn't like consistently run an offense. They basically ran a wildcat formation was their success of offense. And it goes to show you, this isn't the Alabama of 5 years ago.
Definitely not.
This is not the Alabama with
all those receivers,
or
Mac
Hurts,
Jones,
or like they just don't have the weapons. They don't have. There doesn't seem to be a comfort level to let guys go make plays. Like it was a weird game. And some of that is Michigan, right? But it also, when they needed Roman Wilson, they got the ball to Roman Wilson. When they needed Blake Corum made plays.
Yeah.
And it just felt like they were better in those specific areas that kind of made up for how skittish JJ McCarthy could be at times.
So one of the things that I kept thinking as I watched the game was that in this run of SEC dominance over the last almost 2 decades now, like one of the things that it seemingly always has come down to in semis or in the championship games was line play. And that, I mean, just to see what Michigan was able to do on both sides, how they were able, I mean, it's not even like they beat up the Bama line. They just went right through them. They're splitting gaps. They're getting 5 sacks in the first half by 5 different players.
I was probably on an island saying this. I feel obviously very comfortable saying it now. I thought the SEC was down, and
you did, yeah,
all year. And I don't care about Tennessee smoking Iowa. That means nothing to me.
Sure.
That was a low rent Alabama team that just played for, like, that was probably the worst Alabama team to play in the college football playoff in their existence.
I would agree.
And if that's the best team out of the SEC, then they didn't deserve to be in the championship.
And you and I debated this throughout the year because I was very much in I think Georgia is legit. You know, they're doing this again. They're doing it in this conference. And you just were like, I'm not going to totally buy into this.
I just don't think part of it to me is college football as a whole. There's no great team. There's I think Washington is really good, and I think Michigan's really good, and I thought that Oregon was really good, and Ohio State was really good, and Texas is probably right there.
Yeah.
Florida State, I called them frauds all year.
Yeah.
And then was incredibly vocal about how they needed to be in the
I felt the same way.
But the thing is, they won all their games up to that point. Yeah. They deserve to be in, regardless of what you felt about their quarterback situation. And they very well could have done the same thing offensively that Florida, the absolute no passing game.
Mm-hmm.
They could have accomplished that with their backup quarterback too. So it's it's just a deal where I feel like college football is not down necessarily, but the talent is a little bit more spread out. I think we're feeling the full effects of the super senior COVID.
Dude, Michael Penix is a 6th-year quarterback.
Yeah, and then they have 9 guys on that team alone, and Michigan has a handful of guys too, and older. They're bigger. They're physically dominant.
They're men. These are grown men that are playing, and yet transitioning into that Sugar Bowl and seeing what he was able to do. It's I don't know exactly how you operate when you're doing your preseason stuff, but I know one of the things that I want to do is I don't want to just pick the same teams. It's easy to pick Georgia and Ohio State or whatever. This year, I went out on a limb. I thought with 2 teams, well, actually 3, because I did have Texas in there. I had LSU in there. I was obviously way off.
LSU was my national title pick.
Same, and I had Washington in the playoff. Because I loved what I saw from them last year. I loved watching Michael Penix play football, and I thought if they can keep him healthy, I think that they're going to have a chance. Now, I didn't think the conference was going to be as good. And it's funny, man, because both of these teams that are now playing for the title, at various points, I was all in on them being the number 1 and number 2 team. And then I thought that the scandal was going to break Michigan. I picked Ohio State to beat them. And I thought, Washington started playing with their food way too much. Penix was hurt, obviously. And they just kept keeping it close. And so by the time that we got to the Pac-12 championship game, I picked Washington to lose. I had picked Michigan to lose the week before. And now I'm like, oh, these were the teams, and this is what they did all season long. And dude, Penix throwing to those receivers, 3 guys that are going to be in the pros. But his ability, it's the prettiest deep ball that I can ever remember watching in college football. And he does it 3 or 4 times a game. It's not just for example, Bama does that too, right? Bama will have a nice deep ball once a game, but Penix is able to do it multiple times a game. And the one that they had, it's funny. Their last drive now is going to get lost to time because of, or their penultimate drive rather, is going to get lost to time because of everything that followed. But when they decided to go deep and to just stretch that team again and set up that final field goal, it's just incredible.
The throw that he dropped in along the sidelines where, good on his, the defender had no idea that ball was in the air.
Yes, the replay and it
the defender's looking
and
he's looking back for it and the ball is already in the receiver's hands.
Incredible.
It was one of the best throws of the season, maybe
in that moment.
And I don't want to go over the top with it, but it was by far the best throw I watched all day. And Penix probably has the next 2 or 3 beyond that too. The fascinating thing to me about this team is that when I would watch Washington, they would go on these spurts where you're they are just going to run anybody off the field, and then they would go play Arizona State. And it was just this dogfight for them to even get to 17 points.
Yeah.
And it just feels like they are very much when they're on, they are really, really on. But those nights where they're off, it could, that would be the fear, right?
Yes.
Of the 2 teams, it's hard for me to envision Michigan just getting run off the field.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think that it's fair for Michigan to be a 4.5 point favorite, because if
someone's
going to get blown out, it feels like it's more likely that it would be Washington. Though I don't think that's what's going to happen, and I actually think I'll probably end up picking Washington to win that game because I'm just going to go with the quarterback play.
Yeah,
but
and that's the thing, man. We're going to want to apply a lot of lessons to this season and take them moving forward. I think you brought up something a few minutes ago that we do need to remember, and I'm saying this to myself as well because I know I want to be guilty of. This is it. Now, weird stuff can happen every year. They have a veteran superstar quarterback. Extra veteran. This isn't like Matt Leinart, who is in his 4th year, 5th year, whatever it was at USA. This guy is old. he has been in college for a long
You
time.
redshirted in 2018.
Yeah.
I mean, he's basically the same year that Adrian Martinez.
Yeah, think about
who's
that.
now been out of the college football for a year.
Yeah.
And
he only got the extra year again because of COVID. And so
Right.
you like, so we're going to want to apply a lot of those lessons, but he is a super special player.
When you were watching that game, and if you think about it from the NFL context, would you have a tough time if your team was drafting and you're looking at Drake May or Michael Penix?
Yeah,
and it's like, I've never seen Drake May play in any game of consequence and do anything that I've ever cared about.
Yeah.
And I would just default to Michael Penix because I've watched him in these moments.
I know.
And I'm just like blown away by what he can do.
Yeah, and so like it gets into the NFL brain versus the college football brain, because me as a college football fan as well, not just NFL first, is like, this is the easy pick.
Yeah.
And because I saw John was going back and forth with some people yesterday on Twitter, and he was like, he'll be in the first round, because the other person was like, yeah, he'll be a third rounder at best. And so I was like,
No.
I want to see what the mock says. So I opened up Mel Kiper because he's like the one draft guy that I really know. He had him as his 5th or 6th best quarterback overall behind JJ McCarthy. And I'm just like, what am I missing right now? I know his arm angle is weird. I know that he's had injuries.
I think a lot of it is people don't like drafting left-handed quarterbacks.
Yeah. I mean, talk about it with Nick's quarterback all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
Ends up.
Yeah. I think that's a very real thing.
What if the Dolphins somehow just trade up to take Penix?
Oh my gosh.
They're like,
Lefty to lefty?
we're gonna have a lefty backing up our lefty, and then we don't know about Tua's health, so we need to have this guy who can run about the same exact offense.
It's kind of, we see that sometimes, right? Where RG3 was on the Ravens for a spell. Like, hey, we want another mobile quarterback. Some more things that we can unpack from this game when we return, including why I will be rooting for Washington above my beloved Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
What about your Red Wings tumbler?
Thank you for reminding me. I don't have that anymore, sadly.
You gave it up?
Yeah, because I moved into these ones. These are way better for
So you
keeping.
just got rid of it.
Yeah.
The thing was clearly treasured item of your childhood. You brought it to the show.
I did.
For
would have
years.
all the time. Yeah.
And then you're just like, you know what? Done.
Yeah. It's like Toy Story. I'm done with you. I just dropped
Wow.
it. Yeah, I just dropped it. Yeah. So this is the Buzz Lightyear to the Red Wings.
Did you like it at
Woody.
a thrift shop somewhere in town? It's
probably at a Goodwill somewhere.
Okay. Did you donate it?
I hope so.
It was a lightly used donated item that had your germs all over
Yeah,
it.
well, I put it in the dishwasher.
Okay.
Once or twice. All right. Mike Schaefer is in for John Bishop. Some of your responses as well. When we return, we'll talk more about the college football playoff. Michael Bruns is going to join us in a half hour as well. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct. You're on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
When you're rolling Charmin up yourself on the party, this is more, so roll it back, everybody. Charmin's irresistibly soft and hella nice. My crib is always soft, it's our party vibe. It's cushion and face, so our chicks feel fine. So every booty wanna touch the sky.
Charmin Ultra Soft is irresistibly soft and more absorbent, so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. HIMS.com/RADIO.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620 The Zone.
Josh Peterson, Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports with you on this Tuesday, January the 2nd, 2024. John will be back tomorrow. He is getting ready for Creighton and Georgetown tonight, 6 o'clock, pregame at 5:30. By the way, that's a reminder. Tomorrow, I'll be on the call with Rob Sims for the Creighton women's team as they take on UConn, and we're airing that bad boy right here on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone?
And 1620thezone.com. So we'll finish the game, and I'll run downstairs really fast because it starts at 6 on the dot. So, yeah, we'll be doing that tomorrow, 1620 The Zone, Nick.
Nice,
Yeah.
Josh.
Hope you join us.
Shafe?
Shafe, yeah, feel free to listen as well as you're driving around.
Is this your first UConn basketball game you've ever called?
No, this is my second, but last year's was on 1180. So this is the first time that we're on the mothership of the station.
Wow.
They're good.
UConn?
Good. They have a lot of injuries, still good.
That is the sort of insight that I am looking to learn more of.
I wonder if
UConn women's basketball.
Good. Maybe a little late stage Gino Oriema.
Oh, are you going to call that? You're going to make it open for it?
Yeah, late stage Sabanism. Another year gone by, Shafe, without Bama winning a national championship. You know, the last time that Bama won a title in a non-pandemic year was all the way back in 2017.
I did. I saw that floating around.
It's been a long, long time.
Here's the thing, and I'm not sure why I'm not counting the 2020 Alabama team.
You just don't want to count COVID.
They were by far the best team in the country.
They were really good.
There was not a close second.
No, they destroyed Ohio State.
Yeah.
And that was an easy one to pick. Easy.
Yeah, and Ohio State surprised everyone by destroying Clemson.
Oh, that's right. They did.
Because Ohio State was like, I guess they're here because
they'd won like 6 or 7
play
games.
Any games.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't even qualify by the metrics that the Big Ten had put forward for their own conference championship.
Should have been
game.
Indiana
Right.
And Michael Penix, an injured
And
Michael Penix.
they barely beat that Indiana team. They were losing to Northwestern because, Justin Fields couldn't read a defense at that point, and he's gotten a little bit better since then. I hear people are very excited about Justin Fields.
We'll talk about this
I am
later
excited
on in the show.
too.
Yeah,
I want the rest of my division foes lock in your quarterback.
Ooh.
Give them 7-year contracts each. I'm good with
trying to figure out if I need to be nervous about the Packers going into round 1.
Absolutely.
The Cowboys are a 2 seed
Very
now.
scary team.
2 seed.
Yeah.
2 seed now, folks.
They're 2 seed now.
Amazing Daniel says, would you have picked Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold for what they did in important college games, or Josh Allen, who never played in an important college game? Going back to the Penix versus Drake May discussion, he says, looking at it, the best NFL quarterbacks from the draft didn't have any important games in college, and the couple that did aren't great in the NFL. It's a sound argument, and that's why, that's why you and I are on the radio, and we're not,
100%. But I will say, if you go back to specifically Darnold, Mayfield, and Allen, very pro Allen guy.
Yeah.
Very anti Mayfield, very anti Darnold.
I think I was anti Darnold. I was pro Mayfield. I was very anti Allen. So
very pro Allen.
Yeah.
I just like the
liked the tools.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you're right.
Yeah.
Look at him. He's in the NFL.
I feel like there was a lot of people who wanted Josh Allen to fail so they could brave dance. And I think I more or less found myself, because I was annoyed by that, went more the other way.
Contrarian Schaefer.
A little bit.
Yeah. It wasn't that for me. I just was like, this is weird. I never was impressed by him, watching him at Nebraska. Now, I will say, I know Amazing Daniel and I debated about a different Daniel, and that was Daniel Jones, because I was always like, this is stupid. to draft him that high. And I feel like that take is aged pretty well.
Yeah.
But we're all like this with quarterbacks, where sometimes I'm like, I think this guy's going to be awesome, and they stink. I thought Matt Ryan was going to be horrible, and he threw a touchdown pass on his first ever play. What can you do? So I said that we should root for Washington. And I want to ask you this question mainly because of where you work and what you think about it. And that is the idea of this is about to be an outlier. Whatever happens, even if Michigan wins, your colleague, Bud Elliott, has the famed blue chip ratio. We've talked about it many times. He puts it out every preseason, and that is a list of teams in college football, as the title of the article says, blue chip ratio 2023, the 16 teams who can actually win a national title. Michigan is on that list. They have and if you don't know, the blue chip ratio is the percentage of your roster that is filled with 4 or 5-star players over the last 4 recruiting classes. Alabama had the best blue chip ratio of all time, 90% of their roster. I heard a stat from Ari Wasserman of The Athletic that their players on average were ranked 75th overall in the entire country. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. Ohio State was second at 85, Georgia 77%, Texas A&M 73, Clemson 72. That was the top 5. Texas was at 70% at 7th. Already mentioned Bama. Michigan at 54%. They were at 14th in the country, but no Washington. I don't know what Washington's blue chip ratio is because Bud only puts out the teams that are above 50%. Michigan, if they were to win a championship, they would be the first. I'm trying to remember the exact metric, but that's a very low number. It'd be the lowest since some of those Clemson teams. Essentially, we're getting a championship game that is completely antithetical to what we've seen in the sport. So am I being a bit hyperbolic when I say you should root for Washington because this would be an outlier? Because it would be. Or do I go back to the discussion you and I just had and say, yeah, but it's an outlier not for the normal reasons. It's an outlier because of the COVID reasons and that they have this extra eligibility. And that's not to take away from what has happened on the field, but I want this to be an outlier and say, because now moving forward, this could be a bit more of the norm. Maybe it doesn't always have to be Bama. It doesn't always have to be Georgia. It doesn't have to be Ohio State. But I'm wondering, whatever happens on Monday, will we look back at this maybe in the same way as we did TCU? And that's just lightning in a bottle moment because of a variety of factors that will not be controllable moving forward.
I think it's also important to sort of assess the blue chip ratio with the idea that players from the 2021, 2022, you could make an argument either for 2020 or 2023, but I would go either way. But just 2020 and 2022 are potentially some of the worst ranked recruiting classes in a decade.
You're talking about like worst evaluated?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of COVID, because of the absolute weirdness surrounding the lack of camps, the lack of events, the lack of training, the lack of high school games in some states, in some areas, teams that are just not playing, or, you have OPS players that didn't play or what have you. So because of that, I think it's really hard to look at 21 and 22 and those players now as they are in college, and whatever the hit and miss ratio is on that is just going to be substantially weirder than the classes that came before, or I suspect
after
the classes
it's a great
that come
point.
after.
It's a great point.
So I would start with that as the initial premise for why I don't know that I would view this as anything other than a pure outlier to start with. And then I would add in the fact that you have these COVID super seniors that I think makes a dramatically different part. Now, here is where it gets sort of interesting. Coaching really does matter in this sense. I don't think Alabama's offensive coordinator and their offense is anywhere near to the level where you can take advantage of your giant talent disparity.
Correct.
As they had in previous years. Whereas
the COVID season, for example, with Mac Jones at quarterback.
Whereas Kalen DeBoer very clearly has an offense set up that allows for his most talented players to be the strength of their team week in and week out. And so it's just it's a little bit different in terms of coaching there too. And I feel like that distanced itself in some of these situations.
And how about the fact too that Ryan Grubb, who is the OC of Washington, turned down Alabama basically a year ago.
Yeah.
And I mean, you want to talk about a fork in the road moment for, first of all, him as a human being, but the season, if he is at Alabama,
right.
I mean, I think his play calling has been spectacular this year. Obviously, they've gotten to this point. It's hard to imagine that not having some pretty large ramifications. So you lay out some really good points. So would your thesis then be that this is we're going to want to take lessons. We should not take lessons from what's about to happen.
I would say that you would have to view with extreme skepticism the series of events that allowed for this to occur. I mean, you have two teams that are old in Michigan and Washington that are doing it in less than conventional ways through in Washington's case, you have a 6-year quarterback. I think Blake Corum would be out of eligibility without
I believe
the
you're
COVID
right. Yeah,
year.
yeah.
So, arguably the two most important pieces on each offense are not available. We saw Michigan go really heavy into the portal this past year and put together, a really nice class of just portal players. And some of that featured, veterans and guys of that nature. And so I think it's hard for me to say, that this is the start of anything. It feels more like it's just a continuation of sort of the weirdness that surrounded the 21-22 recruiting cycles with no official visits, the worst in-person evaluation that you could have had for programs and for the recruiting industry, and a fundamental lack of games and training for players too. So I think because of that, I would be a little bit more skeptical. Now, that being said, the expansion from 4 to 12 for the playoffs is going to only create more chances where you're going to have teams that don't have this blue chip ratio have an opportunity to win.
Because they're just going to get an opportunity to play the games. Yeah, I'm in one of two minds on what's going to happen next, and that is like you're giving the best teams, more mulligans, whereas like before the 4-team playoff, it really was in a lot of years you lose and you're done. Whereas like last year, for example, Ohio State doesn't get into the playoff. They don't get into a championship game in an old school format. This year's Ohio State team didn't make the 4-teamer. They would make the 12. So you're going to give those teams more opportunities. And so you want that. On the other hand, though, those lesser recruiting schools, certainly, they just haven't had the chances. And, you only got to beat them once. This is not a best of 7.
That's the thing with football. I mean, that's why the NFL playoffs are always a crapshoot. It's why I would always take the field versus any one or two teams, because it's just one bad night in football and it's over. Yep. I mean, that Georgia team that won 65-7, they needed Ohio State to give them that game.
Miss a field goal at the very end of the game.
They needed that game to be given to them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we aren't even talking about Georgia as a dynasty.
Yeah, they're just
there's so many little things that have to occur in football for the end result narrative that happens. We often forget about the little things. We just want to talk about the big overarching picture. And sometimes you got to remember, like, a couple plays here or there can dramatically change an outcome. Like, we're not talking about Washington. If they didn't discover that you could send more than 4 for pressure, amazingly, no one told them that you were allowed to send an extra player.
And then they did the last 2 plays. And what happened?
Like, they figured it out, and it's like, oh, you speed up Quinn Ewers, and he's going to make some bad throws? Weird.
Yeah, exactly.
Who could have seen this coming?
Yeah. And then they finally get the win.
I was like beside myself.
Because they go right down the field. The quickness in which they march down the field, because I don't know what.
You see this like every level of football.
The Cowboys did it with the Lions.
Yeah, they're just like, you know what makes the most sense? We need 7 back on defense and just give 4.5 seconds to throw.
Yeah, it's just wild. It's wild how we'll see that type of stuff. And again, it was almost one of the most catastrophic, choke jobs that we have ever seen in the sport. What did you think of their play calling on their last drive? Because there's my group chat last night.
My only quibble, I don't the kneel down injury thing. I think it's too inexplicably weird for that to be held that hard against them. My biggest quibble was the throw instead of forcing Texas to use that timeout on the previous drive. Like when they threw on.
So you're not even thinking about the last drive. You're thinking about the drive
I wish
before.
that in the moment and in retrospect,
they were going for the kill shot, obviously.
Yeah, which I get and I respect. I have a lot of respect for teams that are like, we're going to finish this on the field.
Yeah.
That being said, would prefer that you run some sort of play that causes them to use a timeout, because that is the most critical part of that juncture. They go up by 9. 9 is about as safe of a lead as you can get. You had all the people who were like mad that Steve Sarkisian didn't go for 2 when they scored, because people were calling it coaching malpractice, which I don't know that I fully understand that one either.
I disagreed.
But there's obviously just a lot of different data and people can choose their own decisions with it. I didn't have any problem with trying to go get a first down in that final sequence there, though.
So
Because that
you're
wins,
talking about Washington's literal
that
last
wins
drive.
you the game.
Yeah, you know,
and you can't just assume that this running back is going to get hurt.
I didn't like that because I didn't like that narrative of like, yeah, just take a knee. It's like, this isn't the end of a half because like I get really annoyed at games or when a team is obviously ready to go to the half and they'll do 2 plays into the line because it's like you could get your guy hurt.
Yeah.
I was not thinking about that in that moment. It's 1st and 10. We're all doing the clock game in our head of, okay, there's going to be X amount, it's going to be 10 to 15 seconds left, but there could be 0 seconds left if you get a first down. I mean, I've never seen something like that happen before. The injury itself, but then that results in the clock stopping.
We've
never seen
it. Went from 37 to 45 to 50.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the clock just doesn't get to run at all if the guy's laying on the field.
Yeah, they had to re-add that because essentially it's in a timeout by the team because they have those rules.
How do they determine? Like,
I think they
at the very end of the play, they can retroactively go back and put that.
That's
on
what
there?
they did. Yeah. So they were saying that was when the play stopped, and so it turns into a timeout from that situation.
So then, if a guy is like hobbling to get off the field and he collapses right before the sideline, you would still go all the way back.
You got to get him to the sideline.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's like in a moment you want to almost tell your teams and your players just pick him up and carry it, like hurry, just run him off the field. But obviously they weren't thinking that way.
A buddy of mine had the Washington money line. And was just, and it's it's 11:45 at night.
Yeah,
and he is just losing his mind. Like as when they threw that pass, and they didn't use a run play to force a timeout. He's like, this is going to come back and bite him.
Oh,
like, this is absolutely going to bite them. They're going to have these 2 timeouts. Like I don't care that it's a 2-score game. Like college football teams are notoriously bad at finishing. Blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and I mean, he was pretty well correct. And then of course when the injury thing happened, oh man,
because I realized
I was like, I had the sound down really low, and
so you were like, what in the world's happening?
Well, no, I was like, so what was the injury? And he's like, who cares? I'm gonna lose this bet. Who cares? I don't care. If he lives, fine. But just
that's
get
all
off
I
the
care
field.
about. Yeah, I realized after like maybe 5 seconds after he goes down, I'm thinking, oh, wait a second. Yeah. I'm very confident that this results in a timeout, and sure enough, it doesn't. As you said, suddenly the clock is getting higher and higher and higher. Absolutely brutal.
And then no one has mentioned it, but just the utter unbelievably stupid special teams play that we watched yesterday throughout every game. Every team was affected in some manner, and then it culminates with that Washington gunner.
What is he doing?
Yeah, like. The situational awareness there was just negative.
I'm going to
40.
jump, but I'm also going to try to avoid him like I'm Neo in the Matrix. Yeah, that was horrible. I mean,
bizarre.
I'm flabbergasted, and you talk to more coaches than I do. I want you to ask someone about heels on the 10-yard line next time you talk to a coach, because what happened at the end of the Michigan game, you want to talk about malpractice. If they lose that game because of that, I am stunned that after he recovers the ball and gets out of the end zone that he held on, because he had no momentum. He's barely leaning forward and he got stuck. And then someone texted about this earlier. Why did Michigan call the other timeout before, thank you, Nick, before the final kneel down? They kneel down after Bama has exhausted their timeouts, and then they call a timeout to kneel again. I was just so weird. Football, man. What a sport. What a sport. By the way, there are a couple quarterbacks that people were wondering. I think people were just asking maybe how we felt about this guy coming into the pros. Alex and Lincoln wants to know about Joe Burrow. I was super high on Joe Burrow.
I kind of like Tagovailoa more, but I thought that both would be good, and they both have been. The one out of that class that I had no idea was going to be as good as he was, which is funny because when I watched him play at Oregon, I was like, oh, this guy's got an arm. Was Herbert. I didn't think that he would be quite as good. And obviously, we can talk about how
good. And I don't think he's that good.
I would like to see him in an organization that isn't just bereft of
he's definitely like
stupidity.
I think he's like top 12, but the people that are like, he's easy, top 5, I'm like, I don't see it.
So the thing is, like, if you put him on, if you switched him and Burrow,
yeah, that's fair.
I think Justin Herbert wins the Super Bowl and is driving the, is discussed as the bright young future of the NFL right now. And I think if Joe Burrow's on the Chargers, it's, man, what a glum future this is with no home
that
team
poor guy.
And,
he doesn't have Jamar Chase to throw to anymore.
Brandon Staley's his head coach.
And then one from Amazing Daniel Lamar. I think you and I were both
super high on Lamar.
Yeah, we were both pro Lamar.
Been high on Lamar throughout. There was I tried to search this.
I can't say that.
There was a poll that Sam McEwen, I found a tweet of me asking him if he could find the poll that he ran. But like a couple years ago, there was a poll where it was like, besides Patrick Mahomes, which of these other 4 quarterbacks would you most want from the NFL? And people were losing their mind about Kyler Murray. And it was after like Lamar had lost his second playoff game or whatever. And it's, Lamar can't throw. Lamar can't win in playoff games. Lamar can't do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude's incredible.
Yeah, he is.
People work so hard to try to make it seem like he's not good. And he's just really good.
I will say I did enjoy Kyler Murray's performance on Sunday.
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, very much so. Michael Bruns, I don't know how he felt about Kyler Murray, but we can ask him questions about things.
You were sending us some off the wall Jim Harbaugh to the Broncos theories earlier today. So
that would be wild. I haven't seen this at all. I would love to ask him about it.
Yeah, you should, because it results in Sean Payton needing to be traded to another organization for it to happen.
All right, we'll find out the details on this, and we'll talk some Husker stuff too with Michael Bruns when we return here on 1620 The Zone.
Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
A bit more mild on Tuesday. Expect partly sunny skies with a west to northwest breeze, gusts around 10 to 15 miles per hour most of the day. Highs in the upper 30s. I'm meteorologist Sean Everson from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
I'm Taylor Bisciotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. When the Dolphins face the Bills for their AFC East Division title Week 18 on Sunday Night Football, they'll be without their Pro Bowl pass rusher, Bradley Chubb. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel confirmed Chubb will miss the rest of the season after suffering a torn ACL against the Ravens. The 27-year-old suffered the same injury back in 2019 when he was with the Broncos. Meantime, 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan said running back Christian McCaffrey suffered a mild calf strain against the Commanders Sunday and has been ruled out of their final regular season game against the Rams. San Francisco clinched the NFC's #1 overall seed in the playoffs. And Steelers head coach Mike Tomlin announced Mason Rudolph will get the start at quarterback over a healthy Kenny Pickett Week 18 against the Ravens. Pittsburgh can clinch a playoff berth with a win over Baltimore and a loss by either the Bills or Jaguars. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Hey, folks, Rich Eisen here. So this football season's really heating up, and the guys on my show, they're having a blast with Prize Picks. And now with basketball season in full swing, they're able to pick combo projections across both sports. Join them on prizepicks.com/primetime. Easy gameplay and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what they tell me makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. And right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Brockman's loving that aspect. He's hooked. And all you need to do is visit prizepicks.com/primetime and use code primetime. That's code primetime at prizepicks.com/primetime for a first deposit match up to $100. Don't be left on the sideline this basketball season. Go to Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right. Get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
This is Unsportsmanlike Conduct. The 1620 The Zone.
Here's a story of a man named Brunty
who covers Husker sports, boys and girls, like football and basketball, even weightlifting, like front squats and curls. Then one day, good old Brunsey called a talk show, and acting on what they thought was a hunch, John and Josh wanted to start a family. And now we get to talk to Michael Brunts. It's Michael Brunts. Michael Brunts. Now we get to talk to Michael Brunts.
His name is Michael Brunson. He joins us right now on Husker. Well, he joins us on 1620 The Zone, but he's of Husker 24/7 Sports. Brunson, it's a new year. We're getting used to talking again in front of people. How are you today?
Talking's a good thing for 2024. We need more talking.
Yeah.
I like the talking.
It's the name of the game. So before we get into Husker stuff, my partner today, Mike Schaefer, you might have heard of him. He said that you were sending texts about the Broncos somehow getting Jim Harbaugh. I have not seen this nor heard about this. Please explain how this could be a thing.
No, there's just it's a lot of tea leaves, and things would never happen that way. But there's just lining up weird things where potentially New Orleans fires Dennis Allen, and then you have to basically snip, snap the trade that brought you Peyton, and then they both have the same agent, so it'll never happen. But the Galaxy Mind, tinfoil hat wearing Bronco fans are pretty much out on it. It's terrible. And the worst thing is you see last night's game, and this quarterback just throwing darts, and you root for an NFL team that has not had somebody do that except for a 2 or 3 year stretch for 20 years. That's where things are. So it's I do not see. I'm not saying that the Broncos are going to end up with Harbaugh. Just saying that there are 50 dominoes that could fall and that could happen. So.
Do you, if Michael Penix was the quarterback of the Broncos, would you be more invigorated than you were this past year?
Yes. I would feel bad for Michael Penix, but I would be infinitely more enthused than I was this year. Yes, it's the supporting cast is not great, so that would concern me a bit, but I would be excited to have a high quality quarterback. Yes.
Bruns, what memory from yesterday do you think is the one that's going to stick with you moving forward? And I guess it's kind of hard to answer in the moment, right? Because whatever happens on Monday, I'm guessing will shape the view of yesterday just a little bit. But I'm wondering if there's one or two things that are you think are going to be those memorable, lasting moments from the Final Four team semifinals that we had.
Probably how Jim Harbaugh's dad looks like a perfectly aged 20-year version of Jim Harbaugh.
He's like an AI version of him.
Yeah, that. That's what it would spit out. That was the most shocking thing. Beyond that, I don't know. I mean, certainly the throws that Penix made. I will remember those throws because there were a lot of kind of where you do kind of the breathe the air in through your teeth when somebody makes a throw like that. And then the thing to me was that fourth down call that Michigan had. I mean that was a huge moment, and that to their credit, whatever you think about them, they managed to stick in there and win the game. I'm not sure that I continue to not buy the America's team storyline, but that was a pretty good game. I mean, for as bad as bowl season has been this year, and I will watch a bad bowl game without question. The games last night delivered, which I was happy about because I was really afraid that we were just going to get a couple of stinkers. So that was nice.
You have been on the Kalen DeBoer train for a while. It probably stems from the fact that you just watch an ungodly amount of Mountain West or WAC football or whatever is to the west of us and starts at about 9:00 at night. What is it about Kalen DeBoer that has, you think, allowed for such immediate success at Washington?
I don't know. Like, I think, like, his Fresno State teams, you know, I was impressed with the way that he developed guys. Like, you know, I know they struggled a little bit. He was there around the COVID year. And I mean, that's like where the bulk of his career losses happened, were in Fresno State's COVID year. But you just saw like that his teams played with a kind of like toughness and just they're inflappable in tight situations. And I was curious kind of how he was going to transition that to Washington. Cause I mean, that's a significant step up. You're dealing with different kinds of athletes and how they handle things and everything else. And, you know, I think, you know, the offensive system is great. I think that they can kind of do the spread thing and air it out against teams, which we've seen. But like, if you go back and watch, you know, some of these games that Washington played this year, I mean, they were able to really dominate the line of scrimmage on offense. And I thought that always really impressed me. It was like they were not your typical, you know, Pac-12 team that people kind of think of, but they could play that way if they needed to. And I think it's I don't know. It's kind of hard to wrap your arms around, but I just think he's a really steady coach. And I think he's just a really good coach of football. And I mean, even the staff that he's got there, it's a lot of guys that have been with him for a really long time. They added some other guys from the outside. And their wide receivers coach was the wide receivers coach at Purdue for a while when they really had guys going there. So just a really impressive coach. And you know, I when you kind of look at who's coming into the Big Ten next year, I mean, I know Schaefer, I know you tweeted it that a lot of people should be probably more fearful of Washington than they are of USC, but I think Washington and Oregon both are just kind of set up, at least up front in the lines, to where they're going to be able to be competitive right away in the Big Ten.
How would you rank, Michael Brunt's joining us right now on Unsportsmanlike Conduct, how would you rank the 4 new Pac-12 teams coming into the Big Ten, and let's say like the next 3 to 5 seasons, so not just like immediate success or failure?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think I would probably certainly UCLA last. I mean, I feel like that's kind of coming to a head with Chip Kelly at some point sooner than later. I mean, I put USC ahead of them. I don't know. You know, Washington and Oregon, it's tough. I mean, I think long term, I would probably bet more on Oregon just because of the brand name. And I think they're going to be able to recruit at a little bit higher level than what Washington's going to do. But I don't know. I mean, I think both of those teams kind of show you, I mean, that the quarterback position and getting that right and maybe getting a multi-year guy in that spot, I mean, it just changes that picture and outlook so much for a program. I mean, when you talk about, you know, Penix and, you know, Bo Nix, I mean, those are, you know, 2 of the, you know, top 3 Heisman guys this year. So I would probably lean a little bit more Oregon, but, you know, I don't know that I would be betting against the board just given his track record pretty much throughout his whole career.
Brunts, the second half of the recruiting season gets underway here this upcoming weekend as the Huskers can host official visits from transfer portal players. What are you keeping an eye on here in the month of January as it relates to Nebraska finishing out its 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that there's going to be. I mean, it's going to be pretty darn quiet in high school stuff, I think. Certainly, they've got portal needs. You know, I think you got to like the fact that they're bringing in the Oregon running back transfer Dowdell right out of the gates. I mean, that's a guy that, you know, I think they feel okay about the running back room to a degree, but when you look at the kinds of the types of running backs that they've been linked to, and there's been very few over the last few weeks. It's more of like that kind of Big Ten thumping style running back that you kind of think of, and I think that's kind of where you need a back like that, given that you don't know what you have coming back with Gabe Ervin and that hip injury and Ramir Johnson. So, in his situation. So I think somebody that can kind of come in and be that 15 to 20 carry guy, if they're going to do that, that's got to be a priority. You know, Jamal Banks, the Wake Forest wide receiver, you look at him, you know, that's the kind of profile of guy that they need is a bigger body wide receiver that's comfortable coming in and being that kind of number one guy. Because I think they feel good about what that wide receiver room is long term. But again, you need somebody that can kind of take the pressure off. And I think they thought Billy Kemp was going to be that last year, but he just never was.
Michael Bruntz joining us. Bruntz, one more before we let you go. Timeline in terms of the coaching staff. I know it's been referenced many times since Rule's last media availability, but he had that question about essentially, hey, who's going to be coaching Dylan Raiola? And he was like, I'm not going to talk about that. We'll talk about it eventually. What do you think we're looking at in terms of knowing who that staff is going to be? When will we know at that? What point will that happen?
Oh, I think, once NFL season gets over with, now that you've had more college coaches finish their season, I think we're pretty close to it. Nebraska's going to be getting rolling on its off-season program here pretty quickly. I would think you'd want to have that person in place and ready to go as quick as you can. You've got 2 freshman quarterbacks coming in that are going to need to be coached, and I don't think you would probably want those guys arriving a significant amount of time before whoever's going to be coaching them, whoever that might be, or how they're going to shuffle things. So I think it'll be pretty quick after NFL season and the college season's done. I think that's going to be the case here on college football. Is you're going to see some more movement with pro guys looking around and things like that.
And Jim Harbaugh to the Denver Broncos as well. We'll keep an eye on that trade. Bruntz, we appreciate your time as always. Happy New Year to you and the fam. Good to talk to you again. We'll chat next week.
Sounds good. Talk then.
That is Michael Bruntz, your colleague from Husker 24/7 Sports. You guys do pods together. You write
I haven't
together.
done one in a while.
Yeah, it's been the feed's been a little empty lately. A Nebraska basketball pod popped up this morning, but that's a BC and you affair.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll have to see if we're doing a pod sometime this week. So could be tomorrow. Who knows?
Could be
it's
tomorrow.
A day-to-day operation.
Day to day. It's like an injury. It's the podcast injured.
Our brain is injured from recovering the recruiting cycle.
It's a high ankle sprain.
We're day-to-day until we can come out of that injury.
For the pod. Speaking of injuries, there were injuries in the NFL.
No, there isn't.
We're not going to talk about the injuries when we return. Oh, you want to talk about dumb coaching decisions. And I say this as a Cowboys fan. I see this all the time. But why Mr. Chubb was still on the field when the Dolphins were down by 30.
Bad year for Chubbs.
That did not make any sense.
Never good when you're talking about a bad Chubb. And you're right there, Schaefer. We'll talk about the NFL when we return. If you would like to chime in, there are many ways. You can call us at 402-951-1620, 42 Degrees the Source hotline, or hit us up on the J-Tech Construction Zone Twitter feed, Equitable Bank inbox. So many ways to talk to us. Mike Schaefer in for John today. More to come on 1620 The Zone.
Now live on Twitch, YouTube, and 1620thezone.com.
Hi, this is Doug Nodgard with Equitable Bank. Great service never goes out of style. When the digital age dawned, many said computers would be able to handle many of the interactions that used to take a person. Boy, were they wrong. How many times have you called your bank and gotten a recording to press 1 or 2? Not at Equitable. Not only does Equitable answer your call on the first ring, it's answered by a human being. That's because Equitable Bank values its customers. Equitable Bank, we take banking personally. Member FDIC.
Good boy. At Cox, we think all customers deserve a reliable connection. So whether you're a loyal customer who's been with us for years, or you're new to the family like this little guy, you'll get the same great deals on the same great internet. And no matter who you are. See how you can save at cox.com/deals for all. Other restrictions apply. All rights reserved.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Put your coffee department in good hands with Host Coffee Service, providing direct delivery and loaned coffee equipment with service programs. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
There's to be, beginning, there's help as they're being there.
This is Nikki Haley. Look, I'll just say it. Biden's too old, and Congress is the most exclusive nursing home in America. Washington keeps failing because politicians from yesterday can't lead us into tomorrow.
Nikki Haley, a new generation of conservative leadership.
We need term limits, mental competency tests for politicians over 75, and a real plan to defeat China and restore our economy. I've long said Biden's not going to make it, and a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. Republicans need to leave behind the chaos and drama of the past with a new generation and a new conservative president. I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. And in the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-462-3333. That's 800-462-3333. 800-462-3333.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long. Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long. And with Babbel, it isn't hard. It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct is brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Now back to the program.
Alongside Mike Schaefer of Husker 24/7 Sports, I am Josh Peterson. We are happy to be back for a new year. No John today. He is in our nation's capital.
Not retired.
Not retired. John still works here. He'll be back tomorrow. Then I won't be in the building, but I'll be on the air. I'm also not retiring. I'm also not leaving the station. Apologies for those of you who thought we were. And apologies to those who thought we were and were excited about it.
Oh.
Screw you jerk. We're still here and we're not going anywhere. Nick Grimm is also our producer here on 1620 The Zone. We have Steve Sipple, curmudgeon-y as ever, in his latest column. I imagine we'll talk about that with him in a little over an hour.
Is he joining us today? Did we get confirmation?
Oh, that's right. We never got confirmation. Maybe we'll talk to Sipple. Who knows? You never know.
We'll see.
We're off at 5:30 today, by the way, for the Creighton game. We have our hot take market to get to as well. You had a tweet that got my gears going. Actually, it was something that you mentioned with Brunt. So we'll talk about that, though, and that's just the future of the Big Ten. But, it's you and me. We are hanging out. We're talking ball. It's time to talk a little NFL. I don't know. Right now, the NFL Network is replaying a glorious game between the Arizona Cardinals and Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how much time we really want to talk about the Eagles. But you want to talk about things turning up Josh a little bit right now. The fact that the Cowboys are, one win away over, as you called them, the worst team in the NFL from being the 2 seed is insane to me, given that a few weeks ago, the Eagles were 10-1 and the Cowboys had multiple losses. Since then, the Cowboys had 3 losses. So they were 2 games behind, and the Eagles held the tiebreaker. Since that moment, the Cowboys have lost 2 more times, and yet they are still going to be finished ahead of them, barring a total collapse on Sunday afternoon. And by the way, I'll be watching that game with Mike Schaefer, so he'll have stories to tweet out, I'm sure. Hopefully nothing.
It'll be great.
Hopefully nothing insane happens. So I'm obviously a very, very happy person in that regard right now. We joked about it earlier. What are the things that have happened since, a lot of us were last speaking into a microphone? And the big story, I would say, certainly since that day, and that was Friday, December the 23rd. The 22nd, whatever it was the 22nd, is the Ravens, and how the Ravens have gone from a team that I still feel like, Schaefer, people don't totally know what to do with them because they haven't had the playoff success. So like, there's not that, well, they can do it. We know they can fall back
this
on
version of them has never been the AFC Championship.
Correct. And so it's obviously very difficult for people to get past that. They have a quarterback who I think, whether it's good faith arguments or bad faith arguments, I think is difficult to discuss sometimes because he doesn't play like a traditional MVP caliber quarterback. And then I really do think it goes back to what you just said. But they kick the crap out of the 49ers. They kicked the crap out of Nick's Dolphins. Before that, they had dominated the Jaguars. They also have a win. Those are all division-leading teams, by the way, for now. They also have a win over a division champ in the Detroit Lions, and they beat them by, 32 points, 31 points? They destroyed them earlier in the season, among many other wins. They're sitting at 13 wins on the year. And I don't want to, the game is now over a week ago, but what they did last Monday to the 49ers, I mean, if they win the Super Bowl, that is going to be this obvious, and that's when everyone learned that they were the team to beat this year. But they are spectacular. And the ways that they can win, a myriad of ways, I think is the thing that is most impressive to me at this point in time. And we were just kind of going over some of the playoff scenarios. And there's a very, very, very real world where the second round of the AFC playoffs is Buffalo hosting Kansas City, which is cool because those teams have played in the playoffs a few times, but also Baltimore hosting Cleveland, which is interesting in terms of just the matchup. But obviously, then you throw the history of those franchises in. I'm speaking to the choir here, or preaching the choir here on Lamar. Like, you are the person in my life more than anyone who has always been at his back, no matter the successes or failures. So I know you are not surprised.
The Lamar boy.
But were you a little at all surprised?
Singular, no plural.
At the way in which they dominated San Francisco or dominated Miami in the last couple of weeks?
I mean, from a team perspective, sure. Like, they're a really interesting season. I spent the last couple hours. You ever have that thing where you're trying to recall something and you could just look it up, but you just try to wait it out? So the Ravens have 3 losses, right?
You were trying to figure out which losses they were?
Well, I could distinctly tell you that they lost to the Steelers and to the Browns.
Yeah, I remember
Those are the 2 that I can completely remember. I forgot about this idiotic loss that they had the 3rd week of the season.
And now I'm trying to remember who it was.
It's to a team that is, every team that they have played seemingly is in the playoffs or is playoff adjacent. So this is either in or playoff adjacent.
Well, they never lose to NFC teams, so you can pretty much wipe. They lost to the Jags, right?
No.
Oh, they didn't lose.
Same
to the
division.
Jags. They beat the Tag. Oh, they lost to the Colts.
They lost to the Colts.
That's right.
It's a very weird, stupid game, and everyone's like, "Oh,
was
Lamar
that the game that
can't do
Anthony
it."
Richardson got hurt? Was that like the last
so.
Anthony Richardson game of the season?
I think so. If
Wow.
I recall, it had a really stupid finish.
Well, yeah, because the stat with them, of course, this year is they have had the lead at the 2-minute warning of every football game that they have played this year. So they played 16 games. They have had the lead at the 2-minute warning of every game, and they have lost 3 of those games. The 2 that
it nearly ended in overtime. Matt Gay made a 53-yard field goal, which he made to put it into overtime with 57 seconds left. And I think the Ravens missed on a try that would have won it. I think Justin Tucker missed.
And it was one of those, whoa, I don't miss these.
Yeah.
What the hell happened here?
And then either he missed again in overtime or there was something like
it went all the way down to a minute 9 left in overtime before that field goal was made.
But it's funny because that game feels like that was 14 years ago with how the narrative of everything has played out.
Given it was week 3 of September.
The thing that I always find kind of funny is that this has been the same Ravens organization for the last 5 years. That 5 years ago were the number 1 seed, best team in football. Just 2 years ago, we're cruising to their way to the playoffs, and then the Lamar injury happens. They lose 7 games out of their last 9 or whatever.
It was a wild finish to the season. Last year, the injury, they get in, but they lose, and they very well could have won that game.
Right. And so it's the talent around this team has always been really good. So I've always kind of I thought they were the best team in the North, and I didn't think the AFC North would be the best division in football, but it unquestionably is. There's really not a close second.
I don't even know.
I mean, every team has a Out of the Bengals may not finish with a winning record.
Yeah.
But everybody
But
else
that
with
comes with a
winning record.
huge asterisk.
Well, yeah. I mean, like, basically, that's the best division in football, and it has featured 9 different starting quarterbacks.
That's crazy. See, and
four
that goes
for the Browns, 3 for the Steelers, 2 for the Bengals,
and then 1 for the Ravens.
and 1 for the Ravens.
And that goes back to then the coaching in that division is pretty good. And then, like, I don't want to make this about Cincinnati for too long.
10 different starting quarterbacks.
But do you want to talk about a guy who should get some flowers? That's Zach Taylor, man. Like, I know he got crapped on a whole lot, especially going into that second Joe Burrow year. And even when they made the Super Bowl, people weren't giving him credit. And even last year as they made that deep run,
he just
people weren't
gets
giving him-
destroyed online all the time.
And I think
all
he
the
is-
Ohio State crossover I have that are also Bengals fans, they just murder Zach Taylor.
I think he has
every
proven
week.
himself to be a very good coach.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ravens, man, that's crazy. That Colts game.
Yeah.
You know, you go all the way back there. And so, yeah, I think all of that, you put it in a pot, and it's just this group of like, so what are we to make of them? I think that this is, like, you're right, man. Playoffs are weird, and there's a very real world where, I mean, that Browns defense is spectacular. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they went into Baltimore and won that game, but it certainly is setting up for a season where they are hosting
And yet,
their
as
first.
good as that Browns defense is, this Baltimore team has scored 59 points on them in 2 games.
Yeah. And it will be at home, and like, look, Joe Flacco, this is a really fun story, and you know, they're playing some good football, but I mean, come on. It's Joe Flacco. Like, I know I've watched you, Joe Flacco. I've watched you play quarterback. We're staring
I
down
watched him win a Super Bowl.
He did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that
Indeed he
was the greatest 4-week stretch. And then he was unbelievable.
No interceptions the whole playoffs.
He was unbelievable in the next year when the Ravens almost took the Pats out in Foxborough again, and they needed that like double throw touchdown from Edelman to Amendola or whatever to basically steal that game. Because I think Flacco was like another 3 touchdown, 300-yard performance in that one.
Yeah, they always gave the Patriots issues back with Joe Flacco. But I mean, I think we're very much looking at them in the AFC Championship. I feel very comfortable in saying that. And then it's just, you know, what team do they get from the other side, whether it's the Bills or the Chiefs or any other teams? Because, you know, as everyone knows, I imagine by this point, the Bills can be the 2 seed. There is a world where they are eliminated from the playoffs as well. And that comes down to it's Pittsburgh, right? Like, that's the only linchpin in this. If Pittsburgh beats Baltimore, which we imagine they will because Baltimore has nothing to play for, then the Bills will be playing for their playoff lives. I believe that is the scenario that would keep them out of the playoffs.
We've
Or they
also
could be the 2
seen
seed.
teams like Pittsburgh in this situation fail to win this game, too.
Many times. Every year we're watching games in the old days, 17, and now week 18, where like, that team has nothing to play for. I remember the Chargers biffing it multiple times in the week 17.
Vikings have definitely done it.
The famed play against the Cardinals when Paul Allen just screams no really loudly. And they got rid of that rule, thankfully, when
The force-out rule?
Yeah, about getting pushed out of bounds. Would you like a few moments on the 49ers? And, you know, the last time that you sat in for John, you were like, I you know, they're very good, but there's no guarantee.
It's no different.
Now they're raising canes.
Well, so the Raising Cane's
Delicious
thing,
and
just for
perfect.
those that don't know, I compared Brock Purdy to Raising Cane's, calling Raising Cane's chicken, just the chicken.
It's like when people talk about Runza, and it's like, no, I just like the Runzas.
Yeah.
I like
So
the restaurant Runza.
The chicken at Raising Cane's to me is like pretty above average, which people lose their mind about it. And so I regard it as overrated. The other stuff about Cane's I like more. And it's kind of the same thing with the 49ers. Like, I like Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle.
Debo Samuel.
I like the Texas toast and the sauce.
Brandon Ayuk.
You know, so it's like he is in a
This is
great
so funny.
situation.
I love this. This is one of your best things.
Well, I mean,
it's very good.
People want so badly to tell you that Lamar Jackson isn't good enough at quarterback, despite having an MVP and basically 5 fantastic seasons since being a starter. But then also tell you that unquestionably Brock Purdy is a fantastic quarterback while ignoring that in this singular season, he has played on a more talented offense than Lamar Jackson has had for teammates his entire
whole
career.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we sit here and we talk about MVP and we talk about how great these players are, and we always somehow forget that in order for a quarterback to put up these passing numbers, there has to be someone for him to throw to. And when Debo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk and Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle can have 1,000 yards in yak all by themselves over a 4-week stretch, like, some of it is Brock Purdy and some of it is he gets to be the conductor for the high-speed railroad. You know, like, important job. You got to be there. You got to get the switch. You got to turn it on. It's not like you're the he's not the reason that the 49ers are considered one of the best teams in the league. He is a part of that, but he is not the reason.
Devil's advocate for you, because you and I have debated this on and off the air. They are better than they were under previous quarterbacks.
I don't know that I believe that.
See, that's great. So, like, you don't think this offense is unquestionably better than, like, the 2019 version?
Yes, but I don't think the quarterback play is better.
See,
I don't think the Jimmy Garoppolo in 2019 and Brock Purdy, I almost did it,
Glorter,
are that different. I really don't.
Wow. See, that's where you lose me a little bit, because I think that you make a lot of very good arguments for, I mean, certainly any quarterback would like to be dropped into that system. But I also watched Jimmy G in the system, and they have never had a season this successful in terms of offensive success, win-loss record. Maybe they would have gone
2019 was
they were 13-3. I think this is the best version of this offense. Now, I will, to play devil's advocate to the devil's advocate, that Jimmy G did not have this McCaffrey, and the other players were, Debo was a rookie in 2019, so a very young player.
George Kittle was his best offensive
they
player.
have all of the infinity stones right now at this point in time. So he is working, I think, with the best iteration of all of these guys. But I watch this offense, and I think they are much more terrifying than the offenses we watch with Jimmy G. Whereas that one always felt like, man, they are good at designing plays as long as Jimmy G doesn't screw it up. I watch them, and I still think they're great at designing plays. And I think Brock Purdy also is helping make plays, because I think his mobility, is very, I don't want to say underrated. Because
how many other quarterbacks could have the 49ers exactly where they are right now?
See, now, and that's
20?
It's a lot of quarterbacks.
20 quarterbacks?
I definitely think it's a lot of quarterbacks.
Like, I just don't. I don't want to take, because it's such a cool story, right? Like, he was the last pick in the draft. He's had unprecedented success. Like, I clearly think he's an NFL starting quarterback. I'm not trying to say that he isn't. But if the chips are down and he needs to drive, like if he has to do the Jared Goff drive to just go tie it like he did against the Cowboys, like, what's your confidence in Brock Purdy?
It was very low in Goff.
It was low in Goff, and he was able to do it. And
so what can he do for you to say, all right, never mind, I'm wrong? Or is it just so hard? Is this like the Ohio State conundrum where it's like, but look at all of the guys that you're surrounded by?
It's a little bit that. Yeah. They could go win the Super Bowl, and I'm going to be wrong. And the thing is, I'm not even saying that they can't win the Super Bowl.
Of course, I'm
just saying, like, if you're the 5th best player on your offense, and by the way, their offensive line is usually really good, so maybe we.
So how much of this for you is annoyance of him being in the MVP conversation versus
mostly that?
Okay,
it's annoyance because it's like, how are we incapable of separating what surrounds someone in this conversation, but then tell us all the time that Lamar is the reason that it's going to hold back the Ravens?
Yeah.
Like, I get tired of those two different conversations.
Yeah, for sure.
And so a lot of it is just like this unnecessary defense of Lamar Jackson. He doesn't need it. He's already an MVP. He's already a great player. But it's also just like Josh Allen deserves the MVP a lot more than Brock Purdy does.
Yeah. Because when you remove him from the equation, it changes everything.
Like, it really comes down to, if like you want to give an award for Brock Purdy for running the prettiest offense in the NFL, create an award for that. Otherwise, he's not the MVP. He's not the offensive player of the year. He's not the best team player on his own offense. He's not the best player in his own backfield. So like it's difficult because I think we really want the quarter. Like, it's hard for us to have teams where the quarterback isn't the best player.
Yeah.
And then even when that's obvious to literally anyone who watches football, there is no one that would tell you, that has watched a lot of football, that would tell you that Brock Purdy is the best player on that 49ers offense. No one.
Some responses that we can get to when we return. Other stuff as well. Mike Schaefer in today for John Bishop. We're off a little bit early. Steve Sipple will maybe join us in an hour. We'll find out.
Maybe.
It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, heads up, we've got a crash with injuries on southbound 168th at Pacific. Otherwise, a stall has the right shoulder blocked on southbound 72nd at Pacific. Delays on eastbound Industrial Road between 144th and 132nd, and a slight delay on westbound L Street around 90th. I'm Mike Neville. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Saul's Jewelry and Loan.
Sometimes life throws you a curveball and you need a solution fast. A solution to help you make payroll, to save your house, to keep growing, or fund a startup, to fix a roof or other major repair. Saul's is your fast, local, confidential solution. Get the cash you need today with Saul's.
Good boy. At Cox, we think all customers deserve a reliable connection. So whether you're a loyal customer who's been with us for years, or you're new to the family like this little guy, you'll get the same great deals on the same great internet. And no matter who you are. See how you can save at cox.com/deals for all. Other restrictions apply. All rights reserved.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Setting a new workout goal? Post-workout recovery is a lot sweeter when you fuel up with rich, delicious Highland Dairy chocolate milk. Packed with the nutrients you need to re-energize, including protein, calcium, and potassium, chocolate milk is a tasty treat at the end of your hard workout. Find a money-saving coupon at highlanddairy.com/chocolate. Highland, locally made, naturally delicious.
Email us on the Equitable inbox with whatever is on your mind. The Zone inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can hit me up, agree, disagree, tell me your thoughts on life at Hanley@1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone inbox.
Your neighborhood is more than blocks of buildings. It's the people who live there that make it special. At Union Bank and Trust, we're not just creating home loans, we're making neighbors. We're not just small business lenders, we're small business shoppers. We don't just live in your community, we help you build it. Because our people are your people. Visit ubt.com/neighbor to learn more. Union Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
Josh Peters and Mike Schaefer with you on this Tuesday. We're off a little early today at 5:30 ahead of Creighton and Georgetown. Appreciate you for joining us today. Matt, who I believe is a friend of yours, says, Schaefer, don't make me call in. Purdy is 10 times the quarterback Jimmy G was. Matt,
Yeah,
I would say
he's,
Jimmy G is. Is he a 49ers fan?
People forget he still plays
big 49ers fan. If I went back and checked between interception 1 and 4 against the 49ers, we'd see maybe what his thoughts were.
So you know what's interesting about this? I was thinking about it during the break.
But no, like I get it. I understand that, especially 49ers fans, like the way that it ended with Jimmy G. But in 2019, like when you were the kings of the world, and they were the 1 seed, right?
They were, yeah. That was the year that, but in defense of Purdy, they threw 8 passes in the NFC Championship game. Now, they did that because they just ran for 1 billion yards on the Packers. But I would be hard-pressed to imagine them only allowing him to throw 8 passes.
Yeah, well, they have better receivers now.
They do have better. And that, Like, that is the one hard part about this discussion is that, like, yeah, but they're better now. This is a better group. This isn't a true 1-to-1. But again, I watched the Jimmy G led offense last year. He only had McCaffrey for 1 or 2 games. And I never thought that they were this, I think that they are a Death Star now on offense. You know what's funny about this is our discussion, I think, shows how different our intake of the NFL is, because the people that I mostly hear from are the ones that are like, there's no way he's the MVP. He is way overrated. And you obviously are hearing from like the exact opposite viewpoint the majority of the time. And I don't know if
he was like the MVP favorite. So
he was the MVP favorite. Yeah. I've been surprised. I'm trying to pull up Jimmy G's 2019 log. Okay, so they were 13-3, as we said. He completed 69% of his passes.
Nice.
3,978 yards, 27 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. And I should have had Purdy's numbers real fast too, but I'm guessing the completion percentage is going to be a little bit better right now.
It's about the same.
It's 69.4 up from 69.1. So essentially the same.
69.
He is at 4,280 passing yards, and that was a 16-game season, so he's better. 31-11 touchdown INT ratio versus 27-13. I mean, it's funny.
They're not that different.
What's the yards per attempt? That's where it's going to change, right?
Yeah.
Yards per attempt, it was 8.4. It's up 1.2 yards. It's at 9. It's at 9.6 right now. And the quarterback rating, for whatever that's worth, 113 versus 102. Yeah. So it was very good in defense of Mike Schaefer.
I don't need the defense. And like, again, there is all the chance in the world that Brock Purdy is a better quarterback overall than Jimmy Garoppolo.
Mm-hmm.
But like, we're acting like we haven't seen Kyle Shanahan do this before.
Yeah.
And we absolutely have. And we're acting like we haven't seen the 49ers be in this position before.
Yeah.
And we absolutely have. The difference is they're better on offense now and they're worse on defense than they were in 2019.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. And this is trying to find a bias maybe that you would have against a Purdy in any of these discussions. How much do you think, and I ask this of everybody, not just you, how much do you think him being picked last is playing a part in, like, you have priors on him. You also have his college priors on him, where you're like, I saw what he was at Iowa State. And so this still feels like, even though it's now into the second season, because I'll admit, last year, I was like, there's no way he's going to keep doing this. And he did it all the way into the playoffs. And while I picked the Eagles going into that game, he got hurt on the fourth play? I mean, it happened so early and it completely changed that game. But I will admit, I was like, there's no way this guy can keep doing this for another season. And he has. And he's had bad games, but every quarterback has bad games. So I'm not going to be like, oh, man, he had that one bad game.
Again, he's clearly an NFL starter. Like, I'm not trying to say that he's not capable of that talent level, which makes him, an incredibly rare person in the landscape of things.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I can't award this guy to be MVP. I can't make him a top 10 quarterback. I can't talk about him like he is a strength of this team, because I think he is inherently built up by everything else that's around him. Like, I think he is benefiting more from his teammates. Not to say that they don't benefit from him, because he's got to make good throws. He's got to make good reads. He's got to avoid turning the ball over.
Yeah.
But I think he gets more from being Christian McCaffrey's teammate
than McCaffrey does.
McCaffrey gets because Brock Purdy's his quarterback.
Yeah, that's fair.
And so that's sort of where I'm getting at. And so if we're going to make this guy an MVP, if we're going to talk about him like he's some kind of special quarterback, I need to see where the special is.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it's that he's a former 7th round pick and he's able to do all of this, and it's only his second year of his career, and who knows where the ceiling.
I think doesn't some of your frustration, I don't want to just put words in your mouth, but it seems like some of your frustration definitely comes down to the hyperbole of these types of discussions.
A lot of it is I'm
like,
tired.
why can't we just judge the guy in his second year? We have to judge him against everything else.
Yeah, and it's also just like, can't we just like let it play out to a degree?
And the answer obviously is no.
It's so everyone just needs to have the conversation right away.
They need the answer. They want to know what the answer is.
And it's like, okay, well, last year Jalen Hurts was the prince that was promised for all of football, and this year Jalen Hurts seems very average as a quarterback.
Yeah.
Like, this is the ups and downs of it. And I just we just live in such a referendum reaction to everything that I get sort of tired of it. And it's like, okay, well, if Brock Purdy is this good, let's see him lead these unbelievable drives. They play from in front all the time.
Yeah.
When they played from behind, they lost to Minnesota. They lost to Cleveland. They lost to Baltimore.
Yeah.
When they are trailing, it's a lot harder for him to be the best quarterback or an MVP than it should be.
Yeah.
Like he should have more comebacks.
Isn't like that why isn't the
But
most
it's hard to have comebacks when your team is that good because
Yeah.
you get out to a big lead.
So 2 stats for you. There's that really weird one that has popped up now where if the 49ers are down by 8 points or more in the fourth quarter under Kyle Shanahan, they've never won a football game, which is, I mean, pretty wild. Now, the number of times that they have been down 8 or more points in the fourth quarter is minuscule compared to a lot of other teams. But it shows front runner does not have to inherently be a negative term, but it just shows how when they get a lead, they are going to kill you. And when they're trailing by 8 points, which is essentially a 2-score game, it's hard for them to come back. Meanwhile, on the other end, Patrick Mahomes, I think he is still an above 500 quarterback when he is trailed in any game by 10 points or more, which is stupid. I mean, that is a ridiculous stat, but it kind of goes back to ultimately what we're discussing. I'll be honest. I think is Purdy good or great?
I think he's good.
Yeah. Is he good or great conversation? I think is awesome. I think this is, I've really come to a realization over the last month, because we had Eric at home on the day before we went, away for a week. I was like, do you like the discourse surrounding this? Because he is someone who writes for NFL.com. Like, he has to live in that world where I can pop in every now and then if I want to, or I can choose to just stay away. But this reminds me of like the old school Brady versus Manning stuff, where it was like, well, yeah, but he has the better coach and he has the better defense and he's a game manager. But look at what Manning does. And obviously, eventually it kind of flipped because then Brady actually became that good of a quarterback. But I think that this is so great because, like, KD, 49ers fan, Purdy does things Jimmy never could. He didn't escape from sacks and he didn't throw the ball
His
away.
mobility is a huge plus for them.
Says stats no one talks about. They are very different. And that's what I definitely gravitate towards. I don't think he's the MVP. I find myself gravitating I think I'm kind of in the middle of you and everybody else on this, but his mobility is the thing where I'm like, that's what makes him way different from what they had before.
Yeah,
but I think this is fun. I think this is super fun because on one hand, he's like, no way, anyone who thinks that he's not making a big difference in this offense is an idiot. But I also do I think you present very good arguments. And I think the Jalen Hurts one that you just brought up, I remember last year, you essentially were talking me, a month ago, you're talking me off a ledge. Like, Josh, there's no guarantee that this is going to keep out. I remember you saying that to me.
My only move here is let's just wait. Yeah, and if we wait long enough, I'm going to be correct for a small moment in time, and then I strike.
Dude, you have nailed it. And maybe I'm overreacting in the moment, but that looks like a tire fire right now, which is funny because they're 11-5, but things look horrible. And I watch the Eagles more than any team that is not named the Dallas Cowboys. And I have now started reading all of the beat writers because, dude,
you're in Schadenfreude season.
Dude, I'm on their Reddit page yesterday, just scrolling and laughing and scrolling and laughing.
They're going to have that flicker of good.
I know.
And you are not going to be able to handle that switch either.
The scary thing for me is the Rams winning in round 1 over the Lions and sending themselves off to San Francisco, and then Philadelphia winning. And I'm like, this sounds like hell. Yeah. I don't want to play them just because of the chance of them pulling it off and fixing their ills against the Cowboys. That sounds like the worst thing imaginable. Let's go to the phones, 402-951-1620. Tony joins us right now. Hello, Tony.
Hi, guys. Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, man.
Hey, I'm glad you guys are talking about this Purdy thing. From a Rams fan perspective, he doesn't scare me. Like, when we used to play Montana and Young, I hated that. There are certain quarterbacks growing up. I hated playing Danny White when he was playing for the Cowboys. It just seemed like they were just impossible to beat. Right now, scrambling quarterbacks are what's going to hurt the Rams. But Purdy, I get he's done some things. I don't think he strikes fear into people yet. And he's good, above average quarterback. He's done some good things, but he hasn't won an NFC championship yet like Garoppolo has. Garoppolo's been to a Super Bowl. And I don't think you can actually think a quarterback has, and we'll use a great example is the Rams quarterback right now. Until he won a Super Bowl, he was in that lower echelon. Now that Stafford has won a Super Bowl, he proved himself. You can jump into that upper echelon. So until Purdy does something like that, he's going to just be that above average quarterback that I don't think still not going to strike fear in you if you have to play him. I'm not afraid to play the 49ers this year. Purdy, that's no problem. I might be wrong, and the Rams have plenty of problems, but Purdy is not that quarterback that you're afraid of. Just isn't. But I appreciate the discussion. This is good.
Hey, thanks for the call, Tony. 402-951-1620.
People just like quarterback talk.
That's interesting that he's not afraid to play the 49ers because the 49ers own the Rams outside of that NFC Championship game. They've had a lot of success against them.
Yeah, well, make that interception.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What, be Jimmy G playing for two Super Bowls?
Maybe we're having a different discussion entirely.
Not even as good as Brock Purdy.
Yeah, and then he got benched before the next season, and they went to Trey Lance. Still an odd.
Imagine if they actually had the draft capital.
Congrats on Trey Lance.
That's maybe the most, thank you, Nick. That's one of the most impressive parts about the 49ers is that they literally wasted a pick 2 drafts ago. Well, I guess it'll be 3 drafts ago in a few months.
But also gave up multiple picks.
Yeah, like they wasted a ton, and it for now has not cost them a thing. As big of a Shanahan guy as I am, and John Lynch, I think they built a tremendous franchise. That is like a very odd thing, and depending on the success or failure, if they finally get over the hump, it's just going to be this odd footnote. But if they don't, and we're always like, but maybe they needed that one extra piece, that's going to be the thing. I think they will get over the hump at some point. By the way, back to the phones we go. Jesse is up next. Hello, Jesse.
Hey guys, really good conversation here with Purdy. I just want to do devil's advocate a little bit and just toss something out there because one of you guys brought it up about maybe the physical attributes, right? Because he's not 6'4" or whatever. So I think that's a huge part of it. We all watched him in college because, I mean, where we live, right?
Yes.
We all saw the guy have a really, really good college career. I mean, let's not beat around it. He was really good in college. And I look at it like, I feel like if he was 6'4" and he was a round 1 through 3 pick, which if he was 6'4", he might have been, we're having a different conversation. I do think the perception thing kind of jades us a little bit. In my evidence to the jury, if you will, is the fact that Matt Ryan won an MVP. And outside of being taller than Brock Purdy, I don't know how much sexier Matt Ryan is.
And who was Matt Ryan's OC that year? It was Kyle Shanahan. It was Kyle Shanahan. Yeah. So
there you go.
Yeah, Jesse. Thanks for the call. I mean, I think that's a pretty good argument. Now, I would also say, but if he was 6'4", yeah, he probably would have been, drafted a whole lot higher. I think you hit on something a few minutes ago, and that's like, can we just let this play out? And why do we have to kind of decide on things now? I mean, we know the answer to that is no. That's not how society works. But
I just hate how we talk about quarterbacks.
Yeah, but eventually there will be more evidence. Like the caller said, I need to see him do it in the playoffs. Well, he's going to get many more chances.
You got to play in 2 playoff games last year.
Yep, 3 playoff games.
Well, effectively 2.
And he'll get at least 1 this year, and I would say probably 2.
He struggled in the first half of that Seahawks game.
He did.
Wasn't.
He
good.
was airmailing it a little bit,
and then he dialed in, and they were fine. And the talent disparity allowed him to pull away.
Didn't play that great against the Cowboys.
Yeah, I don't recall anything about that game.
He had a couple. There was a throw he had over the middle to Kittle where Diggs should have hit him, and Diggs just whiffed completely, and they were totally fine in that game. Then he didn't get to play against the Eagles. Like, part of this too is, ultimately, you want to see him in big moments. He just hasn't had a chance to have the big moments. It seemed like last Monday was going to be a chance for a big moment, and then the game went so sideways on them as the second half began that the game script was completely upended. So I'm with the people who like this discussion. I think that this is a whole lot of fun, and I'm excited to see what happens with him, in the playoffs, because there's going to be a lot of dunking. I think it's just which side is going to get to do. Is it you who said, "Hey, let's all be careful here"? You sound like Sipple. Got to be careful here, or will it be somebody else? I look forward to finding out who it is.
Yeah, I think the playoffs are going to be wild. I don't expect to see a matchup of the 1 seeds by any means, and so I expect full on pandemonium.
I want to ask you in a way like, which team do you think is more likely to get upset on the way to the Super Bowl? But I feel like your answer is the 49ers, just because of just how we've discussed them.
Buffalo, or not Buffalo, but the Ravens have a tougher road. I mean, the 49ers don't have the next best team in the NFC is the Cowboys, and they will get them at home. And the Cowboys on the road have their own issues.
Yes, they do.
The next best team after that is the Lions or the Eagles, and they have their own issues on the road.
And they would not play. They would not play the Lions in round 2.
They'd play them in the.
They'd have to play them in the NFC Championship game.
And quite frankly, I mean, I don't think that Lions defense can hold up against.
And I don't think the Eagles
49ers.
Can hold up against them either.
It would just have to be like a weird off, like if the Rams actually got them, in a 1-6 matchup, if the Rams beat Detroit and then they play the 49ers and it just happens like things go their way that day. I mean,
that they have seen them multiple times in the season already.
I do feel like we and I'm super guilty of this every year as we get into the late stages of the NFL season, playing the same team twice, your brain always reverts to the first game more than it should instead of throwing all of that out. And so then it's like, I see, the Vikings kill the Packers and the Packers struggling. And it's just like, oh, doesn't matter who's at quarterback. They got Justin Jefferson. It'll be fine. No, it does not work that way at all. And I think that's true throughout these sort of double division matchups, with the one exception of the 49ers versus the Cardinals. They've murdered the Cardinals this year. Like, let's say like a third of their offensive stats are just from those two games alone.
Yeah.
Like that was, what were the
the one that they
scores
had a couple weeks ago when they played the Bills.
45-29, which is only, and then 35-16. And these are like closer than they probably should have been.
Yeah. For
They could have put 50 in both of those.
Yeah.
So
the NFL. We love the NFL.
We do love it.
What we don't love, though, is people debating and discussing bowls. But let's discuss bowls.
Ooh.
We'll do that
Craig
when
Bowl?
we return. Not Craig Bowl, but, BOWL.
Okay.
Not out of the ice cream that we eat, too. All right, more to come. It's Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on 1620 The Zone.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley.
What in the hell is the smell outside?
Yes.
Yes. So if you are just going outside
It's money.
this morning.
You know what that is? It's money.
No.
That's manure.
Hey,
you're
in a gots-to-go situation, manure, because it's awful outside.
It is bad.
Mornings with Sharp and Handley. Weekdays 6 to 10 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV News Watch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Partly cloudy and chilly tonight. Low temperatures dipping back into the lower 20s. Partly cloudy and still a little chilly on Wednesday. Anticipating highs in the low to mid 30s. Slightly milder Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bill Randy from KETV News Watch 7.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, currently nothing major as far as wrecks are concerned. We are getting a report of some delays on eastbound L Street around 90th, delays on westbound 370 between 72nd and 84th, and then it looks like a slight delay on Dodge for both directions around the 72nd Street intersection. I'm Mike Neville. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by the Nebraska Lottery.
The Nebraska Lottery hopes you have yourself a classic little Christmas by entering non-winning holiday classic scratch tickets for a chance to win $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, or $20,000. Top prize odds vary by game. Promotion ends January 3rd, 2024.
Creighton Sports Update.
Creighton women's basketball returns home to DJ Sokol Arena tomorrow for a ranked matchup. The Blue Jays welcome the Yukon Huskies at 6 p.m. for a Big East battle. Arrive early to secure your free rally towel to cheer on your Jays to a victory. To purchase tickets and follow along on all things Creighton athletics, visit gocreighton.com. And that's your Creighton Sports Update.
1620 The Zone proudly supports Creighton Athletics.
Host is roasting every morning. Host is roasting every day.
Since 1972, family-owned and locally roasted Host Coffee Service has been roasting the finest coffee for businesses and restaurants. If you're ready to change to a better coffee provider, it's time for Host Coffee.
Omaha's best coffee since 1972. Host Coffee is always roasting something good for you.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard.
Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope, and they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's BEL.com. Babbel.com.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
Roofing, siding, and gutters. Make the right call with the rooferees at John Higgins Weather Guard.
Unsportsmanlike Conduct with John Bishop and Josh Peters.
Good on you, David Duke. This the basketball David Duke.
On 1620 The Zone.
Rolling on with Mike Schaefer. We've gotten to the point of the show where I'm realizing we're running out of time. I had so many things. We still have content. We have North Korea to talk about. What was that?
We are content.
Yeah, we are.
And boobs.
We have boobs to talk about.
Oh,
Hot
yeah,
take
boobs.
market that we're going to have to force into the show. We haven't even mentioned the Cowboys-Lions fiasco, and I know many people want me to apologize for it. Sorry. That's all I got for you.
Are you apologizing
apology?
because you won't apologize, or are you actually apologizing?
I mean, look, do I feel the best that they won in that manner? No, not
I think
really.
you should feel great. Play it up.
I mean, on the other
Be
hand,
the
though,
heel.
well,
Be the heel that America wants the Cowboys to
Does that
be.
never apologize for wins in the NFL?
we don't apologize for wins in the NFL. That's true. I do say that. Aiden Hutchinson, by the way, how about him tripping one of my guys and my guy getting called for the penalty?
Yeah.
So, yeah, sorry, Lions fan. I don't know.
Having watched Nebraska games, I didn't even think tripping was something that could get called.
That's true. Yeah. Like, maybe it'll come back to bite the cow. Like, I feel like the Lions will come in the playoffs and beat Dallas in Dallas, and then everyone can, say, there you go, Josh. And
People
I'll say,
forget.
"There you go, I apologize.
Lions famously good at biting things.
They do like biting kneecaps, in fact. You're a big Lions guy. You're really pulling for this team. NFC North, NFC
Yep.
North.
You know me. Anytime I can root for any of the NFC North brethren,
Yeah. Oh, you'll be.
I'm doing it.
What's your worst case scenario of the playoffs? Obviously, beyond the Packers winning it all. And I promise we will get to the bowl discussion, so let's not make this whole segment. Would it be the Lions having a lot of success? Would it be Brock Purdy being incredible every play forever?
Worst case scenario for the playoffs would be multiple teams from each South division make it in.
Oh,
So there's like 4 NFC, AFC South teams,
gross,
and they keep winning. Like,
Yeah.
and they're just like
Oh, 'cause
mucking it up.
You were just thinking about it from an entertainment perspective. I was
Yeah.
thinking about it from your
From
takes.
a personal standpoint, there's nothing that could be worse than if Jordan Love catches fire and they win a Super Bowl.
So outside of the
So,
Packers,
like,
though, is there
yeah.
any other team that you would view in that? Like, what about the Lions? If the Lions went on a deep run,
I don't think they can win the Super Bowl. It's impossible for me to even consider it as an
sorry, Lions fans. We're apologizing to Lions fans multiple times. That's our
Sorry,
New Year's resolution. Sorry to Lions
We're
fans.
not disrespecting the Chiefs, but we're apologizing.
We're apologizing to Lions fans.
I should have a quarter jar for every time I insult one of the NFC North teams.
It's pretty
even
funny.
though my team is destined
They're
for last
horrible.
place right
I
now.
think the Lions are good, and you're just like, they suck. They're garbage. They're bad. They're good. They did what you said they
really
couldn't
think they're
do.
good?
Yes, they won the division.
That doesn't make you good in the NFL.
Nah, I think they're good. They're an impressive team. I didn't enjoy playing them the other
They're
night.
fine.
Okay.
It was weird. That game was weird. I don't understand.
Dallas should have
I
ran away
don't
with it.
understand how Dallas couldn't score.
Yeah.
Couldn't
They
throw
moved
the ball.
the whole day.
Again, Nick Mullins had a lot of interceptions, but also a lot of like very easy yardage.
That play where
out there.
CD was running and he just chucks the ball. I didn't like that play. By the way, you asked a question about CD Lamb of me via text message of where he ranks in terms of receivers back in like October. Man, that number, it's just going higher and
Yeah.
higher for me. He's been
Now
awesome
there's
this year.
people wondering if he's the best receiver in the NFL, and I laugh because it's like they thought Justin Jefferson died.
Yeah.
I mean, his one game with Nick Mullins against the Lions, and if anyone else were to get a vote for best receiver in the NFL, I'll just put the film on. You can watch that again.
He's very
It's Justin Jefferson.
Tyreek is really good when he doesn't drop passes in the end zone.
He's got a problem with that this year.
He did it against the Eagles.
The only non-Jefferson answer that I accept is Tyreek Hill.
Yes, me too. For the record,
Those are your 1A, 1B, however you want to rank.
I'm starting to think CD might be 3. I'm starting to think.
I definitely think he's in the top. I think he's moved past. Like, I used to really love, and I still love Stephon Diggs, but I can't keep putting him up there.
Yeah.
He needs to eventually produce like
Yeah.
a top guy. And CD Lamb is.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, he's tremendous.
Yeah. Not tremendous. Bowl games. There we go. That's a well done by me.
transition.
Thank you, Nick. So I said this earlier. One of the best parts about not doing radio last week is just avoiding all of the discourse. You seem kind of out on the Brock Purdy stuff that has been happening. I am out on bowl game discourse. So as now I dive right into it. Did you think it was louder this year, whatever you did or didn't engage in? Because I imagine
I didn't engage in any of it.
Did you see any of it?
I saw plenty.
Maybe bringing out the binoculars and you
Nah.
seeing people and they're like Georgia won by 1,000,000 points against Florida State. This is a travesty.
No, I just
football.
kept seeing Jack Mitchell tweeting about random bowl games, trying
there
to
are
tell
too
us that,
few bowl games.
Yeah.
Jack really leaned into it's,
but then
it's 12:01 on a Friday. Where's the football?
I follow someone else who does the exact opposite thing. And so then it's like I get the balance in the Twitter
bowl
feed.
games are stupid.
Yeah.
Bowl games are, okay. Last segment, the previous few segments, it almost comes down to you just wish that people would recognize Brock Purdy for what he is and not have to say he's the best quarterback, but just he has an awesome group of players around him. I think we as a society need to do that with bowl games. Bowl games are great background noise. They are something to put on when you're not working that week between Christmas and New Year's and you're wearing sweats all day. That's
I don't
what bowl
understand who
games
gets
are.
mad about them is where I'm sort of at with it. Like I can more understand the people that are like, oh, I don't like this because they're not representative of the teams that played earlier in the year.
Yeah.
But the way that, and I think I told you this off air, the way that I think of it, I view them as like equivalent to NFL preseason games.
Yes.
Their results have no bearing on it. I tweeted this out. Like the only comment I've made about bowl games that weren't the college football playoff was effectively like some snarky remark about bowl games only matter or don't matter relevant to the team, that you wanted to win or didn't win.
Correct.
Something like that.
Like, isn't
much
it
punchier than however I just said it right there.
You're a writer, not a speaker.
Yeah, definitely not a speaker. Certainly am not good at identifying the Purdy family tree either. Did pretty well last segment, so take credit for that. But yeah, I don't see, I don't think Florida State should feel any different about their 2023 because they lost whatever it was to Georgia. Just like I don't think that the committee made a mistake by not putting Georgia in the, and I don't think it meant, though it is really funny that Brian Ferentz's last game netted 0 points.
Hysterical.
I don't think it tells me anything about Tennessee or the collective strength of the SEC. But I've also, for the last 10 years, felt like we make way too many judgments based off of these exhibition games.
Yeah, honestly, the best part about everything that's happened to bowl games over the last few years is that it's really hard now to make judgments. Like in the old days, you did want to, right? You want to be like, that game matters, and it's going to be the springboard to next year.
Yeah.
And for a while, like that was true. When you and I were kids, I think that was very much a real thing. By the time you and I got into college, less so. Certainly now, it's impossible. And so I like that is the case. On the other hand, like the calendar is what the calendar is. And so like I would love for them to find a way to fix the portal happening at the same time as all of this stuff is unfolding. Because as the playoff expands, I do think it's going to be pretty ridiculous to expect the coaches to prepare for these games and have to recruit and have to do portal stuff. Like there was a quote that I saw, I think I might have it saved, from Hugh Freeze, where basically he was like, I didn't know who was going to be on my team because I was dealing with recruiting. I really wasn't practicing with them. And it's like, I appreciate the honesty from him in that moment, but it also shows why this moment in time, whether it's history of the sport or also literally December and early January, why it's so difficult and why we have these moments that happen. I saw an idea, like it was like a list of things that could fix the postseason. One of them was like, just let teams opt out. Like Florida State obviously didn't want to be there. And I'm okay with that. Like, I mean, would the fans be bummed? Sure. I remember COVID around here when people were like, I want Nebraska to play in another game. But like, this is what it is.
Some mayo.
Until you fix the calendar, this is what the sport is going to be. And so I think there's a large contingent that wants to always blame it on the players. And then I try to be above the fray and just say it's everybody's fault for why this is happening right now. But I don't really think it's an easy fix for us.
Well,
and I'm sorry to the old heads. It's not the old days anymore. It's just not.
Here's the problem. We're talking about a sport that is completely connected to an academic institution.
Bingo.
So there's just things that like you can't
have to start classes.
Like you can't dictate based off of the sport. And so like your legislation has to encounter the academic side of it first.
You can't just do a raw free agency period because there's quarters and trimesters and semesters.
Do you want my like 12% thought out idea on how to attempt to fix some of this?
Everybody has the same semester system?
No, nothing to do with that.
Okay.
I would consider things like this. Your postseason, first of all, it all hinges on this very radical idea. You eliminate
divisions.
Conference championship games.
Okay.
The teams that make the playoffs are in the playoffs, regardless if there's no conference championship game. You then have like a 2-week staggered thing where the rest of these conferences have like interconference matchups with teams that they didn't play earlier in the year that they match up with.
That's fun.
So then you make up the money, you recoup the money that you don't have for your conference
Like a
championship
mini little
games.
playoff type thing.
Yeah, not even really a playoff because there's no more than just one game.
Oh, it's just one game. Okay,
yeah, it's kind of like
what they did a few years ago,
right?
the COVID
with
year.
Nebraska and Rutgers.
Okay,
so it's like that. So you have that matchup. But teams that would have qualified for bowl games, those games can then occur in August of the next year.
See, that's the idea.
Where it does not count to your 20, whatever the next year's record.
Oh.
It is a literal preseason kickoff game in August featuring fully stocked rosters that are locked in for the upcoming year that you get awarded by the previous year's result.
I've heard the do the bowl game the next year idea many times. I think it's great because I think it solves a whole lot of the problems. I think that's fun. I think it's interesting. I mean, they wouldn't do it.
The thing is, you have to basically be like, these games don't count towards a record.
Correct.
So you can play them however you want. You can treat it like a glorified spring game. You can treat it like a scrimmage. You can flood the bench. You can try to go out and win, whatever you want to do. But you can have an on-location place on August 12th or whatever. And voila, you just created way more TV money and interest that way.
Yeah.
By getting rid of the traditional bowl setup. You still can handle the conference. You get an extra game in December, so you're still playing into December, and then you move into the transfer portal cycle after that. The other thing is you get rid of the conference championship game. You can have your entire season done by early January and then still allow for the portal to play out for the kids that want to go in that are on the college football playoff.
Let me throw one portal idea real fast before we go to break and do hot take market. What would you think if they said we're going to have one portal period and it's going to be after spring ball? Is that too...
I'm also okay with that one because I think if, in some ways, I think it forces people to make different decisions if you aren't guaranteed the spring to work through stuff.
Yeah.
Coaches have to look at it differently.
And players have
to look at it differently. I think it would cut down on some of the just total jumping.
Yes.
Because I think I'm okay with that one.
Okay. Because I think if I'm trying to fix the calendar.
I would say spring football would be a word that I can't say on air. That goes with show.
Okay, I was wondering if that was because of like cutting players and stuff.
That also just like guys that just like stop showing up to practices and then go on the portal.
Yeah.
If you get your mass exodus and it happens in the middle of the spring, that's probably a little bit more difficult to deal with than at the beginning of December.
Yeah.
So there's going to be other ramifications, but I'm okay with that.
And then the other thing that I would do to this is my final calendar fix would be move early signing to actually have it early. Do it before the football season. Work in some if head coach leaves, if position coach / recruiter leaves, OC, whatever. Then I can get out of jail free. But that's what I would do because then I don't think we want the coaches and the players too to have all this movement in December when you have the most important games of the season.
Yep.
Early signing period, then normal signing period in February. I know that would bring about this like real heavy push for everyone who would want their players locked up in September. I understand that.
That's why I would do it November 1st.
Mm.
Like you put it in the season.
Interesting.
You get until the end of October to take your official visits. And then after that, it's November 1st.
Focus on football.
No official visits in the months of November and December. If you don't sign and you want to take visits, you can do them in January after the season's over and if programs are still interested.
Okay.
So
we fixed college football.
Tried.
You're welcome. All right, when we come back, we'll get to the hot take market. We also have maybe Steve Sipple joining us.
Probably.
All right. Well, we've never heard about that, so we'll find out more when we keep going. We're off in an hour ahead of Creighton and Georgetown. Pregame coverage begins at the bottom of the 5 o'clock hour from D.C. John Bishop on the call. More to come as we roll on here on 1620 The Zone. But right now, Josh Peterson here once again for my friends at Kugler Vision. All of last year, I was saying, it's been 5 years. It's been 5.5 years, whatever it's been since I had that procedure done. Well, now it has been almost 6 years for yours truly. It was January of 2018 when I went through the consultation process, one of the best decisions that I have made in my entire life. It can be the same for you. Dr. Kugler and his team at Kugler Vision, they perform all 7 FDA-approved forms of modern vision correction. You're not going to find that anywhere else in the state of Nebraska. And what has been so cool about talking about KV over the last 6+ years now is hearing from all the friends of the program who have had a chance to do the same. They have ditched the glasses, ditched the contacts for good. It is a new year. You deserve a new view. Do not wait any longer. Kugler Vision took awesome care of me back in 2018. They'll do the same for you. 402-558-2211 or at kuglervision.com.
Omaha's most listened to all sports radio station. Again and again and again. 1620 The Zone.
There's, there to be, beginning, there's hope as they're, being there.
This is Nikki Haley. Look, I'll just say it. Biden's too old, and Congress is the most exclusive nursing home in America. Washington keeps failing because politicians from yesterday can't lead us into tomorrow.
Nikki Haley, a new generation of conservative leadership.
We need term limits, mental competency tests for politicians over 75, and a real plan to defeat China and restore our economy. I've long said Biden's not going to make it, and a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. Republicans need to leave behind the chaos and drama of the past with a new generation and a new conservative president. I'm Nikki Haley, candidate for president, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Nikki Haley for president.
It's the most time-honored tradition to start the weekend, grabbing a cold one from a local Nebraska brewery. Let's be real here. It's cold outside, and you don't want to drink the same boring beer as those Hawkeye fans. Drink Nebraska-brewed beer, cider, or seltzers instead. Each week, we're putting the spotlight on a unique Nebraska brewery with One Beer Friday. Share your brew on social media with the hashtag One Beer Friday, and you'll be entered to win a $25 gift card to a local Nebraska brewery. Nebraska is the good life with great beer. Click nebraska.beer to learn more.
Good boy. At Cox, we think all customers deserve a reliable connection. So whether you're a loyal customer who's been with us for years, or you're new to the family like this little guy, you'll get the same great deals on the same great internet. And no matter who you are. See how you can save at cox.com/deals for all. Other restrictions apply. All rights reserved.
Hey folks, Kent Pavelka again to tell you about your local concrete experts at Everlevel Concrete Repair. Now, if you have cracked, uneven concrete, Everlevel can fix it at a fraction of the cost compared to replacement. This is no Band-Aid. Their products are built to last. It gives your concrete the durable protection it needs, and there's still time. I chose Everlevel for my driveway, and I've got peace of mind with their long-term transferable warranty. Everlevel's products and customer service are top-notch, and that's why they've been voted Best of Omaha again this year. Say it with me. Everlevel, Everlevel, Everlevel.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct is brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Now back to the program.
Folks, it's time for the college football hot take. Well, no, it's just the hot take market. I don't know why I had to say college football.
Yeah, it's just hot takes.
I apologize. I do have a college football take. I also have an NFL take. Schaefer, where would you like me to begin? Because you just have one take, correct?
One hot take?
Yeah, you just have one, don't you?
Yeah, here's my hot
Oh,
take.
you're going.
Well, okay, I don't know.
No, I was asking if you wanted me to go college or pro first, because I know you only had one. I have two.
I just have one. You get your college one out of the way.
College one, I'm ready to say it. This is the hot take I could be talked into. So I don't fully believe it. But this is the new normal of college football. We are going to have weird champions.
Don't use that phrase.
New normal. I'm overreacting. I understand that. This is going to age terribly. I understand that. But come on. 3 now teams in the last 2 championship games. The only outlier being Georgia are not traditionally great recruiting teams of the traditional level. I know we spent a lot of time earlier saying why this isn't going to happen every year. And I think the biggest argument is rosters are strange because of COVID. I agree with that. But I will also say the portal, I think, is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here too. And I don't think that that's going to go away. Alabama, on paper, had the most talented roster in the history of the sport. We said it earlier, they don't look anywhere near a normal Alabama team. So hot take I can be talked into. This is it. This is going to happen all the time. Go football.
It's remarkable that of the 4 playoff teams, Alabama, of all of their talent, had by far the worst quarterback.
By far.
Like,
and who would you say was the second worst quarterback?
Probably McCarthy.
Yeah, I guess it
maybe
was
Ewers. I don't know.
Both guys kind of stunk, and both guys were also 5-star quarterbacks. And
Right.
Ewers was number 1. He left high school a year early. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I was texting with someone about this. I'm curious how you feel. Quinn Ewers is a name that just sounds like he's a 1980s prep school villain that spent the entire movie antagonizing our main character.
And then
he gets his comeuppance.
I like that. Yeah.
That's just the name Quinn Ewers. I know nothing about him at all.
Yeah, and
But
he used
just
to have
the
a
name.
mullet, so that fits too.
Yeah.
Certainly, if it was in the '80s, you think he's their
But
quarterback
you could
next
just
year?
see him like in his like a really sort of like
Prep
jerk
school jacket.
character. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got his like crest on it.
Yeah.
The family's got money.
I didn't like the mullet. I'm happy he got rid of the mullet. Way to grow up, Quinn, and be an adult.
Wow.
Yeah. All right.
Bullets are fine.
You want me to go? I feel like I need to give you the floor for your hot
Whatever
take.
you want to do. It's your show.
NFL one. Hot take I can believe. We have the Philadelphia Eagles, Arizona Cardinals game on in our studio right now. Arizona won, if you didn't know.
209 rushing yards they have there.
All right. You ready for this, Shave? Nick Sirianni won't be the Eagles coach 1 year from today.
Wow.
They're gonna fire his ass in a year, not after this.
Wow.
Maybe I've gone too far down the Eagles Reddit rabbit hole, which I definitely have. They hate this guy. I've heard the calls on WIP. That's a radio station, Nick, in Philadelphia. I believe it's 94.1. This guy sucks. Look at what happens when he loses his coordinators. All the Eagles fans were so excited. Bye, Jonathan Gannon. You're not very good. Jonathan Gannon, meanwhile, whoops their asses on Sunday with the Arizona freaking Cardinals. A very good team, by the way. I've been saying it since September. Many know this. I think they're going to get rid of him. Remember Doug Peterson? You remember Doug. He won a Super Bowl. What'd they do to him? Just a few years later, they fired him.
The weird-looking guy that looks more like a celebrity chef than he
That's right. I
does
was
like
like,
an
what
NFL coach.
do you? They fired his
That's
ass.
a take I can believe.
Nick Sirianni never sleeps. They're going to say, we don't want you anymore. We want a coach that doesn't have bags under his eyes. Get out of here, Nick. I think they're going to can his ass in a year.
He's going to give a weird smug smile and then walk out.
Man, when they lose in the playoffs this year, I have like 4 GIFs that I want to post for the occasion. Go Cowboys.
All 4, or are you going to whittle it down to one?
There's one in particular that I really want to post.
Post 1 per quarter of the game.
Nice. I like that idea, Nick. Shafe?
All right, here is my hot take.
I love this.
Even if the Lions had been correctly awarded the points on that 2-point conversion on Saturday night, they still would have lost the game.
Oh, now that's a spicy take.
Here's why. Exhibit A. CeeDee Lamb could not be stopped. They could know the Cowboys were going to throw to CeeDee Lamb. They're still the Lions secondary. It's still bad.
Yeah.
And there was still 30-some seconds left in that game. Like, everyone just thinks that play happened with 2 seconds remaining. There was 30 seconds. The Cowboys had multiple timeouts.
They had one before you're right, before that play. Yeah.
So what exactly, why should I feel like the Lions' putrid defense was going to get a stop in a critical situation?
Preach!
The Cowboys have an unbelievable field goal kicker indoors who would have attempted from 70 had they had that opportunity. He would have made it, and it would have been hilarious because Joe Buck's call of that 2-point conversion that did not count was so incredibly over the top for a week 17 game in the end. Like, it wasn't a playoff game. It wasn't like they just saved their season. It wasn't this massive comeback, and his voice is squeaking.
It was
and
cracking.
he's talking about how this is going to be the biggest win in organizational history. And I was just like, I didn't even think it was. I was like, what inexperienced play-by-play guy is blowing? I don't even know if I can say that.
Smoke.
Blowing smoke
There we go.
about
We figured it out.
what this win is. And there's 30 seconds left.
Yeah, there's a lot of time.
And it's the Lions. Like, didn't they do this to the Ravens a year before where, like, they let Justin Tucker kick a game-winning 61-yarder?
I think that was like 68.
There was like 19 seconds left. We just saw that the Bills are not world champions because they couldn't finish 13 seconds left in a playoff game. So, yes, Detroit, you lost, and you still would have lost, even if they would have called that correctly. Get over it. Cry to someone else.
Go Cowboys! Look at that stupid play call.
I like this. I like to just give rants. That's all I want to
You're
do.
awesome at them.
I just want to have like a 3-minute just like build up, and then I'm just making it all up as we go along. There's nothing in front of me. I didn't have anything written out.
It's like John never left, Schaefer brought all his soapboxes.
Yeah, look at all these soapboxes.
I don't have soapboxes.
Macy Dennis says, careful what you say. Don't want to let a naysayer know. That was my favorite. Have you seen that clip? You haven't seen the Reese Davis naysayer clip? Oh my gosh. I'm not a McAfee guy, and I don't think you are either. It is one of the funniest things that one of my friends texted me, says it's the funniest thing on game day since Lee Corso said F it. It is. I will show it to you during the break.
Okay.
Wow.
I have no idea. I didn't watch any.
Okay. It's very funny. Have you seen this, Nick?
No.
You know what this is? Oh, man.
I've been off the internet.
We might just
for
have
a
to.
week.
You know what? We'll play the clip. We'll play
I
the clip
think I
after.
watched
Sipple.
less than 6 minutes of game day for the entirety of the season. And on top of that, I probably watched less than 10 minutes of Pat McAfee for all of 23.
It was all over Twitter is how I saw it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm
The
not going to
Twitter
show it
boy.
to you during the break. I can't say it anymore, Nick. We will play this on the air in our final segment of the show because Bet of the Day is canceled. We have a new segment we're going to be doing at the end of the show, but we're setting it up tomorrow when John
Prediction of the night.
Go to FanDuel and pick a game you like, and we'll keep track of the standings and see how much money will be down. All right. Steve Sipple has confirmed. Yeah, we'll see about that. He joins us supposedly next year on 1620 The Zone.
Live from the Host Coffee Studio, this is 1620 The Zone. 1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, heads up, we're getting reports of a multi-vehicle car wreck on northbound 680 at Pacific. It's causing delays all the way back to I-80, so avoid that part of northbound 680 if you can. Otherwise, delays on L Street for eastbound commuters around 90th. Also delays on L Street for both directions between 36th and 24th, and a few delays on eastbound 370 between 84th and 72nd. I'm Mike Neville. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Zoom Drain.
Dealing with any type of plumbing issue can be overwhelming, especially if it's related to your drain or sewer lines. Thankfully, Zoom Drain specializes in drain and sewer services of all scopes. Contact Zoom Drain anytime by logging on to zoomdrain.com.
Email us on the Equitable Bank inbox with whatever is on your mind. Zone Inbox is brought to you by Equitable Bank. We take banking personally. You can get me, Gary, at 1620thezone.com. We want to hear from you on the Equitable Bank Zone Inbox.
We are down to the final week of the NFL regular season, but that doesn't mean the action stops. No, my friends, right now, FanDuel still offering a great $150 in bonus bets when you place a $5 winning money line bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And there's some great new things on FanDuel for 2024, live same-game parlays, the new Explore tab, and the Parlay Hub, which puts together a bunch of very popular parlays on FanDuel.
John, it's the first week of 2024, and there are some big-time matchups in Week 18, of course, ahead of the playoffs. Just go to FanDuel.com/1620 today, and new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when they place a $5 bet. Again, $150 in bonus bets, win or lose at FanDuel.com/1620. 21 plus and present in Iowa. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF.
Pizza's here. Oh, great. I'd love some, but I'm worried about my stomach issues.
If you're worried about having diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools, it may not just be stomach issues. It could be a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
Your neighborhood is more than blocks of buildings. It's the people who live there that make it special. At Union Bank and Trust, we're not just creating home loans, we're making neighbors. We're not just small business lenders, we're small business shoppers. We don't just live in your community, we help you build it. Because our people are your people. Visit ubt.com/neighbor to learn more. Union Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's corporate cards offer you cash back, real money in your pocket. Plus, you control who spends what with each vendor. And Ramp's software collects and verifies receipts automatically, which means you'll stop wasteful spending and close your books in hours instead of days. Businesses that use Ramp add up to 5% to their bottom line the first year. If you're a decision maker, adding Ramp could be one of the best decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
KOZ and Bellevue, Omaha, Council Bluffs. This is 1620, The Zone.
Sipple the snowflake is one old triggered soul with reading glasses sitting on his nose and takes that really blow. Sipple the snowflake deserves a mouthpiece to the face. He says LeBron's the GOAT and Steph will choke. Then he runs to his safe space. Hey, we gotta be careful here. He tells us when we speak. But when 10 games air in a day, he thinks that's too many. Oh, Sipple the snowflake says words like mature. He's a blogger now and an honor too, and also really old.
He's definitely really old, and you can tell by his columns when he's lamenting bowl season in 2023 and 2024. His name's Steve Sipple. He writes for Husker Online, part of the On3 Network. Sip, how are you? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. How are you guys doing?
We're good. Schaefer proffered a theory in our last segment that even if the, I don't know if you watched the Lions-Cowboys game, but even if the Lions' two-point conversion would have counted, that the Cowboys would have come down and won the game. Patrick tweeted at us and said this, and I wanted to ask you. He says, related hot take, Nebraska would have lost to Miami in the 84 Orange Bowl even if the two-point conversion had been good. 48 seconds left when that happened. Do you think that 84 or 83 Nebraska defense would have given up a long drive and allowed Miami to win even if they got the two-point conversion, Sipple?
I don't know how old you think I am.
You watched the game in 84, right?
Yeah, I was trying to graduate.
You were like
You'd have been 12, right?
You would have been like 16, 17.
Yeah, I was literally trying to graduate high school.
I remember like every Nebraska game when I was in high school. It's my most formative years.
I told you, we've been through.
Oh yeah, you didn't watch games a whole lot.
No, I didn't watch a lot back then. So I don't know. I did watch
Chase and Tail.
I did watch the Lions Cowboys.
Hello.
Remarkable game.
Should I apologize to Lions fans, Sipple?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. That's what Schaefer said too. He said, "Don't apologize."
Yeah,
No.
I don't understand why he would apologize because Dallas would have won with the field goal anyways. So.
They're still throwing to CeeDee Lamb twice. Bam, you're in territory.
That's basically what you said earlier.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, people from Columbus understand how these things go.
It's a Columbus thing for sure.
Sip, how sad are you about the current state of bowl games? In all seriousness, I know he joked about it as we brought you on, but I was stunned as I logged onto your website this morning, prepared to read your Tuesday column after like an incredible day of football. And I know you wrote before the games that like you just dumped a bucket of cold water all over my keyboard as I'm reading that column.
No, I didn't. I thoroughly enjoyed most of the bowl season. there's a few games that aren't very good, but there's a lot that were. And yesterday was incredible. I hope that's not the way it came off. I was looking forward to yesterday's games, and they were better than they were better than
they were awesome.
Really, yeah. So no, it wasn't that. Like what I said is what I meant. I still work pretty hard to love college football, even if there's misgivings that are pretty widespread. I mean, this isn't like a simple thing. I mean, come on, do you listen to anybody? I mean, most people are like, what the hell's going on? But I still, no, I thought the bowl season was good. There's just pockets of bowls that were, come on, Florida State was a disaster. There were a couple, you watch some of the games and nobody's there, which I guess that predates any of the issues that are ongoing now. I don't know though. I thought there was a lot of good games actually.
Does Michigan Washington excite you? I know that you're largely you prefer the blue bloods, which Michigan would be. Washington is not, but they're also a historic college football program in their own right. Does this match up for a championship? Does that intrigue you? Are you excited to pay attention next Monday?
Yeah, I'm excited. I would have preferred Michigan, Texas, because I am blue blood oriented. But Washington's close enough to a blue blood for me. I mean, they've won national titles. Don James was Don James, and they've had a lot of great. Peterson did a great job there. They're close enough, and I think some people might consider them a blue blood. So I'm all right. I like the matchup. I know a lot more, obviously, about Michigan than I do Washington. I wonder. I mean, I know Washington has the best offensive line in the country, as judged by a panel, and they can protect, and that's a problem. I mean, Michigan got through Alabama, but that's not exactly a vintage Alabama line. I don't know if they can get 6 sacks on Penix like they did, like Michigan did against Alabama, but. And I don't know. I'd have to look too. The thing I'd wonder as I start looking into the matchup is what are Michigan's corners like, because they could obviously any corner that plays Washington's going to have his hands full. But they got Jim. I mean, if there's one coach that begins to approach Saban, or maybe two, Kirby Smart and Harbaugh. So I wouldn't put it past Harbaugh to win the college football championship, Jim, and John Harbaugh to win the Super Bowl.
Steve Sipple joining us, HuskerOnline.com. Sip, Schaefer and I've done it a few times today. I know what will happen, especially if Washington wins next week, but even after the games yesterday, we do want to kind of project. And what does this mean? And is this an outlier? Can we have more Washington-type programs, non-blue blood recruiters, certainly, making it to this point? And I thought Schaefer brought up some real good arguments for why we should pump the brakes. And, a big one, of course, is the COVID eligibility. Whereas, we are in a moment in time that is truly not going to be replicated at any other moment in our lives moving forward. And obviously they also have a really, really good quarterback. We're also in the era, though, of the transfer portal. And so I wonder when you watch what happened yesterday and you think about Monday, especially if a Washington is to win, are you saying, wow, the sport is changing and maybe in a way that I was not expecting it to, or is this an outlier year overall?
I don't know if I call it an outlier year. I mean, like you guys have addressed, Penix is so big in this conversation.
Yes.
He was hooked directly to DeBoer. Roma Dunze. He was there. Their other receiver, I think, was there. Dillon came from, I think, Mississippi State. They're running back. I kind of say outlier. He's only been there 2 years. I think you have to give Jimmy Lake. I think you got to give Jimmy Lake some credit here. I think, right? I mean, DeBoer didn't walk into a program bereft of talent. There's talent there. So I would say DeBoer's done a great job with it, with a maybe a once in a generation quarterback for a coach for some coaches. Penix would be one in a generation. So I think it's that. They're real. I mean, I don't want to. The thing I don't want to do is discredit Washington. They're real. They're real up front.
Oh yeah,
they got real to me when they beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game, which hardly anybody predicted. Oregon was almost a double-digit favorite. In the big narrative, at least in my mind, was all Oregon's Big Ten ready. Oregon is very physical, and they'll take care of Washington. Well, they didn't. Washington is real. I mean, DeBoer is real. It's an interesting coaching matchup because Harbaugh's sort of the, if you had to pick three, Harbaugh's pick the three best right now. Harbaugh would have to be one of them. And DeBoer is kind of this knocking on the door guy, where he's not, you can't say he's one of the top three, but he has everybody's attention. You kind of wonder how good he's going to get.
When you look at sort of the new look Big Ten, you kind of mentioned it. We talked a lot about USC and UCLA right away because they were the first two teams that we knew were going to be entering the conference in 2024, and now it's Oregon and Washington.
Uh-huh.
Do you feel confident in saying that one of those four is going to handle the transition better than any of the rest? Is there one that will handle it the worst?
Yeah, I think the two that will handle it the best are Oregon and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
I think that USC is stumbling into the Big Ten. I'd say that about UCLA, obviously. But the other two don't have the feel of teams that are stumbling into anything. Particularly, I still say particularly Oregon. There just seems like there's so much momentum in that program, and there's so much money. There's just so much damn money. I mean, come on. I mean, they can do basically whatever they want. Washington, DeBoer is formidable. As long as he just looks formidable to me. And now you wonder though, right? Here's what you wonder. I was going back and forth with Sean Callahan about this today. I'm not crowning DeBoer. I don't want to do that. I also don't want to pour cold water on it. It's only his second year. He inherited players. He did bring Penix, and that's a huge part of this. But what's it going to look like without Penix? What's it going to look like without Anduze, or how you pronounce his name? What's it going to look like without that running back? I don't know. Now that'll be interesting to me. You can't have that conversation with Harbaugh because he's done it. He's done it at multiple schools, and now he's doing it at the highest level. He's better than he's ever been at Michigan. And this will probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this is it. Which is a whole nother discussion. That's really interesting. Like, you're tempted to say, oh yeah, the Big Ten just loaded at the top. I don't know. Ohio State looks like a 2 or 3 loss team next year to me. Their quarterback situation is not what it's been in recent years. Their defense is really good though, and they got a lot back. Michigan, if Harbaugh would leave and McCarthy would leave and it's Sharon Moore, I don't know. I mean, I would expect them to take a bit of a step back. I'd be shocked if they did, because I have that much respect for Harbaugh.
Yeah, and Steve Sipple joining us right now, HuskerOnline.com. The other part about this, too, is, when Nebraska joined, it was Nebraska. With Maryland and Rutgers, no offense, but those programs are what they are. This is going to be more unique than any conference realignment we have ever seen, because it is 4 teams joining at the same time. And I think that the point that you just brought up, it does feel like, regardless of what was going to happen with realignment, the conference, I think, is going to be in a bit of a transition year next season, where I think that, the Ohio State and Ryan Day question, those will certainly be there. Harbaugh, I'm with you. Harbaugh's going to be in the NFL in a few weeks. James Franklin has questions surrounding that program. Like, it's just an interesting time. And so where a lot of people, I think they're going to want to do the whole, oh, cool, soft West Coast teams joining. You brought up all the line stuff with Washington. Oregon does not look like a soft. They don't look like the Chip Kelly Oregon. They look so much different than they used to. So it's going to make for a really interesting couple of years moving forward.
I think Oregon I was watching them, I got to say, 4 or 5 years ago play Wisconsin in a bowl game, whenever that was. And I was startled by it. They were more physical than Wisconsin. No, Oregon will come into the Big Ten ready to roll. I think you would say Washington with DeBoer is too, because they can be pretty physical. So, but no, not the other one. I'm not. I mean, come on. I watched USC's defense this year.
They got questions.
It was embarrassing. I mean, their defense was embarrassing at times. And now, no Caleb Williams. What will that look like? I don't know. And UCLA is just right now. It's just they're just mediocre.
Hey, it's simple between Dante Dowdell, Jamal Banks. Looks like this wide receiver from Texas, whose name is escaping me, also coming in this weekend. Who out of the group so far that we know of expected to visit Nebraska are you most intrigued by as a portal players here at the end?
Dowdell, in part because that was so solid. The Wake Forest receiver, maybe you guys have got some confirmation he's coming for sure. I don't think we have.
We have confirmation, or at least from him earlier today, that he's set to visit this weekend.
Okay, that was pretty big. Both he and Dowdell are big to me. I like Dowdell. The vision I have is this sort of 1-2 big back punch with Dowdell and Gabe Irvin. Not that the other guys are good. I mean, I like Ramir and Emmett Johnson's pretty good. And Ives, we'll see on Ives. We don't really know about Ives, but I do like, Rule always talks, we just talk about this stuff all the time, but the body blow oriented run game, a downhill run game that sets up the play action. That's a 6'2", 218-pound Dowdell and a 6', 225-pound Irvin. And I like it. And I've watched Dowdell, I've done the highlight reel thing, and I like it. He's not Adrian Peterson. I don't want to steer anything. He reminds me of Darren Diedrich is what he reminds me of. And now if he's like that, Darren Diedrich ran for 1,299 yards in 2001. If he's like that, that would be a huge boost. He's the one that intrigues me, but any 6'4" receiver that has 100+ career catches, like the kid from Wake Forest, Banks, that intrigues me too. I just don't know anything about this kid from Texas. I've been away this afternoon. I was just going to go look at it right now.
Do you think, Sip, that the quarterback, the added depth there, that's going to be a post-spring discussion, right?
What are we saying? You think they're going to go get somebody from the portal?
That'd be my guess. If I had to bet on it, that's what I would say. I'd be stunned if they wanted to roll into next year with this group.
I'd be interested in what Mike says about that. I don't know. It depends what's available. That's part of it.
Depends on who's healthy during the spring too. Who's interested, how much they would cost. There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
It's tricky. Yeah, it's tricky, Josh, because you have to, I think we're talking about getting a guy, if we're on the same page here, that's not quite good enough to win the job.
Yep.
But
it's good enough to provide quality depth.
Yeah, but how many, the question is how many guys are like that out there?
Yeah.
I mean, how many guys are not, you're kind of asking them, you're asking a quarterback to kind of not be an alpha, right? Just come in and, hey, we're going to have you, hopefully you don't play too well because we got this freshman.
Hey, am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that you kind of want what Chuba was when they brought in Casey Thompson? That guy had a lot of eligibility. I don't think anyone expected Chuba Purdy to compete for the job, but he was walking into Lincoln with 4 years of eligibility. It was like, cool, another depth piece with I don't even remember the quarterback room at the time.
I wonder, you know what I'd wonder, Josh, what Chuba would say to that.
Yeah, like what his expectation was when he showed up.
Well, yeah, was he just?
There's also the factor that Casey Thompson was a veteran in that situation, whereas
Dylan
Dylan is a freshman.
That's true.
So it's almost like you need the reverse. You need like the old veteran who's comfortable just like being on a roster.
Yeah,
which I don't know who that person is. Like that's
I don't either.
It's a tricky needle to thread.
It is. I can't do. I mean, I try to do this. It just falls on deaf ears, or people look at you like you're crazy. I would really, in this day and age, work hard to recruit good walk-on quarterbacks. I mean, because I think mainly the Florida State example. The other examples too, though, it's so volatile. That room is so volatile these days. If a kid doesn't win, he's gone a lot of the time, and you can get down in numbers really fast. And that's a tricky conversation as well. But I just know this: I would have there's only so many reps to go around. I get all that, but I would try to have my 3 and 4 guys in good shape. I mean, ready to roll. Unlike Ohio State, which I was flabbergasted at how ill prepared Ohio State was in that game once Devin Brown went down. Devin Brown goes into the game with an ankle injury, aggravates the injury, and they have no answer. That is a horrible coaching job, in my opinion. I mean, and I watched it play out. I was amazed by it. I didn't know Devin Brown was hurt going in. He'd been hurt for half the season. And then, lo and behold, hurts his ankle in the game. And then they just don't have, they bring in that kid from South Dakota who was clearly not ready at all. Don't be in that position. I don't know how, you've got to try to avoid that at all costs. It costs Ohio State big.
Steve Sipple, HuskerOnline.com, joins us on Tuesday. Sip, Happy New Year. It's good to talk to you again. Look forward to chatting next Tuesday after the national championship.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you guys.
See you later. Steve Sipple joining us here on 1620 The Zone.
He was too busy with school to watch football, Josh.
Yeah, wild. He goes, I was a teenager. What do you think I was doing? I don't know, watching football. That's what I was doing when I was a teenager.
I wasn't when I was a teenager.
Yeah, we know, Nick. You weren't doing that. Jed says, Sipple didn't watch many games as a kid. When listening to him talk, I can see nothing has changed. Wow.
Oof.
Boom, roasted.
Dang.
Amazing Daniel says, it was so far ago. All right, never mind, Daniel. I can't read your comment. But it was basically like, that was a super important moment in my childhood.
You want a random leftover thought that I had from last night involving Scott Frost and
sign me up.
Nebraska?
Yeah.
Like, doesn't it feel like Kalen DeBoer's offense is what Nebraska thought they were getting out of Scott Frost?
Yes.
Like, isn't that effectively, because everyone thought Frost would be more like quarterback run oriented when he just wanted to chuck the ball. Like, that's really what he wants to do.
Well, they showed the stat during the...
But then they run well, too.
Yeah. Yesterday during the Oregon Liberty game, which I promise you I was not watching a whole lot of, but it was on at the very end. And
just wanted to see if the Falwells made an appearance.
Bo Nix was trying to set the record for the completion percentage or whatever. It was up against Marcus Mariota in 2014 when he was awesome. And that team threw the ball around a ton.
Yeah.
They could run the ball, but yeah, they were super efficient.
No, I was just struck by that when I was watching that game. It's like, oh, the Big Ten's going to get the version of the Frost fence that they never got.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. There was a few comments about like how good or bad they're going to be. Zach emails, and I think Oregon and Washington are ready to compete from the beginning. But I just think back to what people were saying about Nebraska when they were getting ready to enter the Big Ten. It's one thing to be physical for one game versus a Big Ten school. It's another thing to go through an entire season. Nebraska is supposed to be the new Big Ten bully. We've seen how that has turned out. Nobody would have predicted what has happened to Nebraska since joining the Big Ten. I would agree. I would also say Oregon is a way better recruiter than Nebraska has ever been. And I mean, they don't operate like a Pac-12 school.
Yeah.
Dan Lanning is not that type of coach. So.
Well, and then the other thing, I can't let this go. Basically, Kalen DeBoer has never had a bad season as a head coach.
They showed his career record last night. It's 103-11.
I joked about it with Brunts. Brunts has been on the Kalen DeBoer bandwagon since even before he got to Fresno State. He's just been locked in on this guy for a long time. And he was talking about him earlier this year, and he's like, have you ever looked at his record? And I was like, no, because why would I?
And then you go to his Wikipedia page.
Then you look at it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah.
There's
something to be said for, I don't care. It's like a light bulb, right?
Yeah.
He wins all the time.
And
you're a good coach.
As the world's second biggest Willie Fritz champion to Michael Severe, it's kind of the same thing. All these people do, it's almost like being a really good veteran coach transcends whatever level you're at if you continue to install and build the same way.
Yeah.
And that's what Kalen DeBoer has done.
Yeah, for me, it's always like, can you recruit when you get to the highest level? And because it's like, obvious you're a great motivator and you must know something about the X's and O's. The last piece to getting to this far, like DeBoer is the talent acquisition and making sure that those guys are working quality. They have 3 NFL receivers and a quarterback who's going to play in the
And here's the thing, like their quarterback that they have lined up for next year was a Mike Leach disciple that threw for a bunch of yards and a bunch of touchdowns in the SEC. I don't think they're just going to drop off because they don't have Michael Penix.
Yeah.
One of the conversations I was having last night is like, was Michael Penix this good before like Kalen DeBoer? Like was this always in there? Or was it getting to go basically play with really talented guys in Washington in a wide open offense that highlighted his skill set? What took him to that level?
I was always impressed by him, Indiana. I mean, certainly not this.
He was so kind of pedestrian in like 2021. I just didn't think he was ever going to be that good. And then even last year, I was like, yeah, whatever, Pac-12. This year, when I watched those Oregon games, like the Oregon games alone, just phenomenal.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Really good.
We'll come back. We will wrap up the show because Creighton is playing in Georgetown. Pregame coverage of that will begin at the bottom of the hour. So a few things. We're going to do an abbreviated edition of content because we did promise people North Korea and nudity.
Yeah. What? How do you do, good sir? Is that what you
Yes. How do you do, good sir, when Mike Schaefer is in? And
nukes and boobs. Is
nukes and boobs. And maybe more importantly, we will play the Reese Davis clip from game day yesterday so you two can hear it in all of its glory. So we will have that when we return here on 1620 The Zone.
The Connor Happer Show.
Why do you want to shut up Greg Sankey?
Guy talks too much.
He's cool.
He compared the college football playoff to Sesame Street.
He's an elitist for his own conference, just like we are elitists for our own show, Josh.
Well,
we say this is the best show, and there is no other show that's better than this. And everybody, if you listen to other shows, you're like watching Sesame Street.
One of these things is not like the other. Okay. I also love cookies.
The Connor Happer Show, weekdays from 10 to 2 on 1620 The Zone. Your Omaha area forecast from the Godfather's Pizza Weather Center and KETV Newswatch 7 on 1620 The Zone.
Partly cloudy and chilly tonight. Low temperatures dipping back into the lower 20s. Partly cloudy and still a little chilly on Wednesday. Anticipating highs in the low to mid 30s. Slightly milder Thursday. I'm Chief Meteorologist Bill Ranby from KETV Newswatch 7.
1620 The Zone's unsportsmanlike conduct, brought to you by a great friend of the program, Union Bank and Trust.
1620 The Zone. Traffic.
From the Zoom Drain Time-Saving Traffic Center, looks like a multi-car crash still has the left lane blocked on northbound 680 as you approach Dodge. It's got traffic stopped all the way back to I-80, so avoid northbound 680 this evening. We've also got a wreck on 90th at Fort Street, some delays on southbound 72nd between Pacific and Center, and then some delays on L Street for both directions between 36th and 24th. I'm Mike Neville.
This time-saving traffic is brought to you by IBEW Local 22.
The electrical market requires your company to adjust to an ever-changing field. IBEW Local 22 gives you flexibility with access to journeymen, apprentices, and proven training programs. Call Bob at IBEW Local 22 for details at 402-980-7596.
Margot felt quite exquisite as she dipped her fries in mayo, gracefully extending her pinky to the sky. See, she just saved by getting Cox Mobile for her family. Yes, more lines, more savings, Margot. Brilliant. She finished her cherry slush drink with a triumphant, exquisite indeed. Visit a Cox store and pay as low as $30 a line for 4 or more unlimited lines. 4 lines required for $30 per line price, max of 5 lines. Prices exclude taxes, device activation, and other fees and charges. Other restrictions apply.
O'Reilly! Did you know 1 in 4 car batteries is weak and needs to be replaced? O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery needs to be replaced, our professional parts people can help you find the right Superstart battery for your vehicle and budget. Don't wait. Get your battery tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
What's holding you back from learning the language you've always wanted to know?
Too hard. Takes too long.
Not with Babbel. Babbel's lessons take just 15 minutes a day.
15 minutes isn't long.
Nope. And they're fun.
Fun isn't hard.
Right. Babbel's interactive lessons, podcasts, games, and more make it fun and engaging, so you don't realize you're learning a language, but you are. And Babbel's lessons are built around real life. You can choose from topics like travel, business, relationships, and more. You'll learn what matters most to you. Plus, Babbel's lessons are designed to get you speaking right away. In 3 weeks, you're able to start having conversations.
Just 3 weeks. Even better.
Since Babbel's lessons are designed by language experts and voiced by real native speakers, you'll get the accents just right and be able to carry on conversations with confidence.
Learning a language with Babbel doesn't take long.
And with Babbel, it isn't hard.
It's perfect.
Start learning a new language today. Go to Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
1620 The Zone's Unsportsmanlike Conduct is brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Now back to the program.
All right, just a few minutes left. We'll get to content in a moment. But first, Nick and Schaefer have not seen the viral clip. And what stinks about this is, we'll obviously our audience will hear it on radio, but we don't have the video uploaded into the system. We weren't planning on talking about it today, but we will play this clip. I don't have it. I mean, I guess I could open it at the same time. Here, I'll open it at the same time. I got it at the same time for you, Schaefer. All right, so this was on game day yesterday, and it begins with Reese Davis talking about Jalen Milroe. Nick, let's fire this clip up. So that was the clip from yesterday.
Let's see.
Joey Galloway's reaction of "you were way too smooth with that." I thought it was about to go down. Is one of the funniest things that I think has ever happened on TV. That got me so good when I saw it yesterday. There you go.
Good for Joey Gallo, whose entire tenure with ESPN has been somewhat of a train wreck.
That was super funny. All right, let's get to some unsportsmanlike content, and it's time to talk about North Korea.
Look, I made you some
Unsportsmanlike
content.
Unsportsmanlike content.
Unsportsmanlike content. Content that's unsportsmanlike. All right, Nick, fire away.
Brent, wow, after mentioning North Korea?
Yeah, I apologize for that.
Hate us because they ate us. Friend of the program, Lanny Holstein, prepared to ring in the new year with some takes about the Dallas Cowboys. That crap they showed at halftime of the Lions-Cowboys game was sickening. The outright bias for Dallas that ESPN showed was crazy. It was like watching state-sponsored television in North Korea. ESPN does the same crap with the SEC. It's all tilted, man. Is he right?
I miss Lanny being in the media ecosphere. But I will say, him getting out of it, his takes are more unhinged by the day. I don't know how many of you follow him. His account's under lock and keep, rightfully so. The tweets that he would have about the Colorado Buffaloes this year, every Saturday, I'm just like, my God, man, you can't just hate the team.
Oh, man.
Woo.
Yeah.
This one made me laugh very hard.
Look, there's a reason that I started just retweeting him with the hashtag Lanny tweets. Just because I wanted to have that, to go back on, because that's the point of the hashtag. You can reread it. It's
and now
great.
you can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
You can't quote tweet anymore. You'd have to take screenshots and send them out, but that'd be kind of mean.
Yeah, no, it's I always appreciate it because his response level on stuff is 7 times a little bit more far than it probably needs to be, particularly with his just straight disdain for quarterbacks in general.
Oh yeah,
he hates all of them and he wants them all to get hurt.
Mm-hmm. That sounds about right.
It's great.
He's a Bears fan, so that helps explain a lot.
It makes sense. He doesn't value the position.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Bears and the NFL, with the Panthers' loss on Sunday, the Bears officially have locked up the #1 draft pick. What would you do?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because you're looking at what seems to be a pretty good quarterback crop, but at the same time, Justin Fields is playing well, I guess. I don't know how
I
else
think
to
he's playing
phrase it.
better.
He's definitely been better than he was at the beginning of the year. So then do you just try to do what you did last year and get as much as you can in a trade out from that pick, and then move forward with Fields as your guy? I mean, it seems like that's the route that they're going to go. That's what I'm totally on board with that.
Yeah. What would you,
as a fan of a team in the same division,
ride with Fields?
Lock him up. Let's get an extension.
Yeah, I think he has improved. I think he has a very not low ceiling, but his ceiling isn't what I think Caleb Williams' ceiling is. I would pick Caleb Williams. I think that's a smart play. I think it's the right play. Not to mention, they would have to make the decision with Fields in his contract next year.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of money.
They're in a good spot no matter what, because if they choose to move on from Fields, they're going to find a team that will trade. Like, if you go to the Falcons right now,
yes,
you could go get, some sort of player plus a pick for Justin Fields, who's from Atlanta.
Yep.
Who probably more fits Arthur Smith than Desmond Ridder.
Unless they fire Arthur Smith.
Now, Arthur Smith is a terrible coach.
Horrible coach.
But there's a part of me that would be okay with the idea of him and Justin Fields.
The hometown angle, I think, is a good one.
I would find that really funny. But yeah, I mean, if I was the Bears, I would probably try to move Fields. But since I don't want them to be good, I hope that they stick with Fields.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be limitations no matter what.
Yeah.
And it's also really funny to me that it's like people really want to talk about how he's breaking out right now. And it's like, yeah, he's one of the 12 healthy quarterbacks left in the league.
That's a good point.
He's 25. And we've been talking about a breakout for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, I'm glad that it's finally happening now. This is great.
I love how much
for
you
127 yards.
I love your
3
NFC
weeks
North talk.
ago.
It's
Yeah,
so fun.
Fantastic. They're all bad.
They are.
And like, it's just like every other week, it's, well, Jared Goff's a top 10 quarterback now. Okay. Jordan Love is figuring it out. All right. This is great. I'm fine. Like, lock them in. I want to see these guys 2 times for the next 7 years each. Good with it.
Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? People love getting beads in New Orleans. In fact, a woman on Bourbon Street offered up a view to receive some. ESPN even showed it. Either of you ever been to Bourbon Street?
I had my bachelor party in New Orleans. So
I have never been there.
I have been to Bourbon Street several times.
Did you see any beads?
Saw some beads.
Did you see any other things?
Definitely saw some other things. Definitely. It is hard to explain from this sense. It is the worst smell that you will ever come across in your life when you are walking the neighborhood to get to Bourbon Street, because it is just a mixture of all of the terrible senses combined into one thing.
What are the drinks? The hurricanes?
There's hurricanes, hand grenades.
Wow, do they call it a hurricane in New Orleans?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that's where it originated. You can get hurricanes elsewhere. But
I just didn't know if that would hit too close to home.
Pat O'Brien's is like the hurricane. There's these big drinks called hand grenades that you can get that sole purpose is to blow up your evening.
Oh.
Yeah, there's plenty of banquet.
Were you inebriated at all at your bachelor party?
Most of it. I didn't sleep much, played a lot of golf, sweated every ounce of alcohol out of me, and then drank more to get it back.
Hell
So
yeah.
It was a great experience.
Did you get food wrecks from our friend Michael Severe?
Yeah, but we didn't end up. It's hard. Bachelor party, you have enough people. It's hard to to get to some of those places. Yeah. And a real quick plug for this. If you ever happen to go to New Orleans and you don't want to go to Bourbon Street, the World War II Museum down there is one of the greatest museums I've ever been to.
Wow, that is not where I expected the plug to go.
That isn't where I thought either. I thought you were just
There
going to
you go.
name like
We
Rum
believe
Street.
in education here in the Mike Schaefer.
Thank
brain.
you for your service, World War II veterans.
All right.
Thank you.
Tomorrow, I'll be at the arena. John will be here in studio. That'll be fun because I'll be calling Creighton UConn. You'll join us. Mike Schaefer. I
Come
can't
on
wait.
tomorrow.
Can't wait to talk to you. Mitch Holtis will join us. Whew. Mitch is having a bad time. He's tweeting.
I would like to point out that when I sat in on that interview, I asked him about 2 players, and they've been very good for
There you go.
The Chiefs, and Karlaftis and Pacheco down the stretch.
Plus Dumb Debates, our first Dumb Debates of 2024. So get in your questions. Shafe, we appreciate your time today. I really hope that you end up being correct about the Packers if and when the Cowboys play them in a couple of weeks. Go Cowboys.
Let's get Jordan Love an extension.
Mike Schaefer's going to
He
be on my
jumps
side
off
in the
ground when he
playoffs.
throws.
For Schaefer, Nick, I am Josh. Pre-game coverage coming up next from D.C. ahead of Creighton and Georgetown. See you later.
Bye.